Work yourself into an extremely depressive state of mind that takes days to recover from in hopes to be happy with a result, knowing it's probably not gonna be worth it in the end. If a friend came up to you and said, "Hey, I'm gonna go run 50 miles and refuse to eat, sleep, or take care of myself until I'm done," you'd be like, "No, you doof. That's a horrible idea. You need sunscreen first." Overworking yourself has such a confusing interpretation right now. Everyone knows it's not good, but at the same time, it's also glorified. The best examples are in school or work environments. Dude, I had 6 hours of homework last night and didn't get to bed until 4 a.m. You think that's bad? The other week, I had 3 tests to study for, so I pulled an all-nighter and only drank coffee for 2 days straight. I have not slept for a week. My blood flows with Red Bull and Xanax. When someone's driven to work exceptionally hard, obviously that's really admirable. But when they start forfeiting self-care in place of hard work, that's when you start crossing into the realm of pain and uncontrollable suffering. Yeah, but enduring the pain and pushing forward is super strong. No. Admiring something that stupid and unhealthy isn't commendable. Instead of encouraging it, tell your brain, "Hey, no, bad. Not on the carpet." Your emotions start to chop and change more, your mental health starts to deteriorate, you snap more at things that aren't big deals, everything feels like you're playing sudden death mode in Smash Bros. Honey, I brought you some lemonade. Everyone is gonna experience burning themselves out in some sort of way. That's part of life. If you don't, you're either perfect or the devil. And I don't trust either of those, so stay back. I've been slowly losing my sanity from overworking myself ever since I dropped out of college, which was 2 years ago. It's the type of thing that slowly creeps in, and you only start to notice it when your insides have already deteriorated by 30% and your insanity stat has reached level 10. Burnout is caused by 3 main variables: depersonalization, where you don't feel in control of yourself anymore, emotional exhaustion, and a lost sense of achievement. Wow, Jaden, you're so smart. Ha! Yep, you know me. I'll research anything all day just to educate the people. After a long time of feeling like a very sad shell of a person, I started seeing a therapist. So the first day I came in, she just asked some basic questions to get to know me and my situation. And she got to the question, "What would you describe your average daily schedule to be?" And I was like, alright, that seems simple enough. So I wake up around 8:30, have a small snack, work out for like 30 minutes, and start working. So I work until lunch, and then I get back to work. Yeah. And I work until dinner, and then I work until I go to sleep. And when's that? 1 a.m. Yeah, I see the problem now. I was, and still am, struggling with the mindset of, if I'm not working, I'm being lazy. And the fact that I work for myself in my own home and am my own boss doesn't help at all. Taking a break to play games? But I could be working. Eating dinner? I could be working. Sleeping? But I could be working. But I could be working harder. I'm not saying this just for you, but for myself. It's okay to take personal time for yourself. Don't work your life away. I'll take a break when I'm dead. Frick. I never got to come up with a funny tombstone. I asked a bunch of my friends about their experiences with overworking themselves, and they were all like, "Oh yeah, burnout is torture and can go frickin' suck a jellyfish." Their stories consisted of not sleeping for hours or days on end in exchange for more time to work, denying themselves food or water until they finished something, breaking for a minute to go to the bathroom only to go right back to work, snapping at friends or family for no reason. It sucks because these aren't even uncommon experiences. It feels so good to be validated and admired for working hard, but there's a slippery slope there of accidentally forgetting to keep yourself alive and sane if you're not careful. I'm here to save you from yourself! What? What? Wait, I've got to study for final exams! No time! Go take a nap! 46% of Americans drop out of college anyway! I'm kidding. School is important. If you drop out, you don't get to use me as an excuse to your parents. But it's important not to die from burnout. Or in general. Don't ever die. I also asked my friends if overworking themselves negatively impacted their relationship with the end product, and there were 2 different interpretations. Some of them said, "Holy frick, Yes, I hate that thing now. Stressing and pushing themselves too much made them sloppy and make awful mistakes. They cut more corners and agreed the final product suffered because of the pressure they put on themselves. Another friend, with better hair, described it as being a sick, twisted reward for unhealthy behavior. Of course, they were able to finish the project, which they wanted, but the steps they took to complete it led to painful burnout and definitely was more emotionally damaging than if workflow was more evenly distributed. My scientific conclusion? You suffer either way. Here, have some tips to not be emotionally damaged for a week after overworking yourself. Don't do too much of the same thing without any sort of change whatsoever. You're not a mindless work zombie in a hamster ball. Doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over is a formula for absolute misery. Atrox, who helps with animating the videos, had a good analogy, so I'm gonna steal it. So say you like chocolate. I do like chocolate. No one asked you. So imagine you hypothetically enjoy eating chocolate, but when you only eat chocolate and nothing else, you feel sick. That nauseous feeling in your throat and stomach that makes you want to lay down and throw up for the rest of the day. It's the same with anything else. Do more than just work and eat hypothetical chocolate all the time, 'cause otherwise... Take time for self-care. Yeah, it sounds generic and straightforward. So then do it, you dummy! Spend time with yourself. Do something that'll refuel your juice tanks. When you're running on empty, you gotta take time to fill the tank back up to full. Don't just try to avoid the inevitable by pouring a little cup of gas in and hoping that'll tie you over. Enjoy yourself! I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at me, because I still have a really hard time with that one. Take a shower. You've probably been working for 5 days straight. Take a break from social media. Sounds cliche, but it works. Spend time with friends. If you have any. Do some stretches or something that includes moving your body. Exercise equals dopamine, which means less depression. Yay! Stick to a healthy sleeping schedule. If you're a farmer, I am a farmer. No one asked you. You gotta tend to a variety of fields instead of hyper-focusing on the same one every day. Push yourself to always be trying something new or focus on improving. It's easy to get stuck in the same grind of consistency. Everyone's a unique, special snowflake, but eventually your brain is gonna start craving something different, and if it doesn't get anything new, it throws a tantrum. You get more excited about things you're going to learn and get better at. Spice everything up. If you're a lumberjack, I am a lumberjack. Will you cut that out? You can't keep swinging your axe continuously at trees all the time. It'll start getting too dull and become difficult to keep going. You gotta take time to stop and sharpen your tools. Keep things balanced. You can create your best ideas when you're not stressed and overworked and sad and tired and feel like poop. Wait, I thought you were a farmer. No one asked you. Hey ho, it's me again. Hope you liked the video, and as a pact to myself, I promise to not pull any all-nighters while making it. I'm not sure about any of the other members of the team. If they did, they're fired. Anyway, big update. I moved to LA. I always thought I would live in Arizona my whole life and die of a heat stroke, but so many opportunities opened up to me in LA and...
Welcome back to Battleship Systems. The Synchro, Selzin, Autosyn, Telemotor, Teletorque, whatever you want to call them, helped create some of the most advanced weapons in World War II. The idea of being able to...
Do you ever think to yourself, man, why is it so hard for me to just do the things I need to do and focus and remember things and manage my time and be organized and remember things and not get sidetracked? Ha! Yeah, me neither. When I was a kid, I was pretty much the picture-perfect depiction of a good student. I was well-organized, always turned in my work on time, got good grades. I even did my homework on Fridays instead of procrastinating until Sunday night. Sure, I didn't like studying and found it hard to focus during it, but who didn't? Saying all those qualities put together, that doesn't sound like the brain of someone with any kind of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, does it? I was well-behaved, didn't feel like I struggled much in school, and didn't cause any trouble. That is, up until I moved out of my parents' house for the first time to go to college. Gradually, I started slipping. I began skipping classes a bit when I just didn't feel like going, would wait until the last moment to start classwork, and lost a lot of motivation because I wasn't interested in any of my schoolwork. But overall, even though it was pretty out of character for me, I chalked it all up to the fact I was simply over going to school. At the same time, my YouTube was really kicking off, and all I wanted to do was that. Of course I wasn't gonna be as good of a student when the silly YouTube videos were doing numbers. I finished a single year of college and convinced my parents to let me take a gap year to see where this YouTube thing can take me. Spoiler alert, the gap year turned into me never going back. I'm a college dropout. So great, I've eliminated the boring school part of my life that weighs me down. Now I can go back to being organized with my new exciting passion job, which entails being my own boss and having to manage and assign myself all of my own responsibilities 24/7. Why are the voices not getting quieter? It's almost like everything was going backwards. I was having a much harder time staying organized and focused. If I didn't want to do a certain type of work, I would have to shackle myself down in basically an isolation chamber to be able to get it done. If I found a new interest, it was all I could think about. And why is it so easy to suddenly be on your roof watching a YouTube video on how to know when you need new shingles? I really didn't get it. Child me had it held together more than current me. What went wrong? I could look back and recognize how everything used to be so perfect and easy. Look at tiny Jaden and all her ducks in that row. I used to color code every single binder I owned, and now I don't even know where I placed the 20 bucks I literally just had in my hand 3 minutes ago. I haven't even left the room. Genuinely, where could it f***ing go? Despite feeling like I was downward spiraling for multiple years, I never diagnosed with ADHD. It was a pretty big surprise for me because growing up, he never really seemed to show any of the typical symptoms you associate with ADHD. You know, people would always describe ADHD to me as super hyper kids who would run around the room and scream and generally be a lot. That wasn't my brother. He was quiet and well behaved like I was. But when he started explaining his symptoms, the gears started turning. Yeah, I've always struggled a lot with focusing in school and having things hold my attention when it's boring, but like I could hyperfixate on things I'm interested in and get really passionate about that stuff. Hearing him talk about his personal symptoms of ADHD made a lot of sense, and I felt very freshly educated on the topic. And you'd think that I would immediately start looking into getting a diagnosis for myself, because if you were paying attention, my brother's experiences all sounded very similar to the same struggles I've been having in my own life, but related to work instead of school, because I dropped out. But nope, I was just like, good for you, bro. Happy for you. Or I'm sorry, I don't know. Anyway, back to struggling to simply open up my drawing program as if 2 blocks of iron were welded to my wrists. Imbalance of brain chemicals? Nah, this just happens from time to time. It's normal. Just the laziness kicking in. I hate Mondays, am I right? Even though I didn't instantly think there was a possibility of me also having ADHD, the mental seed was planted. It's genetic, so I knew subconsciously it ran in the bloodline. It took a few years after my brother was diagnosed for me to really sit down with myself and consider that I, too, could have ADHD. Shocking revelation, I know. Foreshadowing, where did you come from? Things in the focus and productivity department were just getting worse and worse. I had the attention span of a cartoon dog, would completely forget things as soon as they entered my head, would hyperfixate on random stuff like an addict, and there was constant civil war happening inside my head to get one thing done, even though I knew it would only take like 15 minutes. You don't understand. It feels like physical torture to make myself sit down and lip sync a simple scene, like most of the time. You know, the thing I've been doing for 10 years at this point and am definitely used to doing. And yeah, once I've gotten going, then I'm honed in and you have to pry me away from it with a crowbar. I'm aware of that part. But nah, I'm still gonna scrap with myself to plant my ass in that chair because I don't even know why at this point. The biggest thing holding me back from feeling like I had ADHD has always been the simple memory of being in school and having my shit together. I know what it feels like to be on top of things and to be organized. I had it all in the palm of my little child hand. I just needed to summon it again with a bit more effort. But a light switched off in my brain and suddenly I'm just not capable of the things I used to be, and it feels pathetic. Simple tasks are such a mental burden, it feels like I'm out of control but can't do anything about it. So finally, I figured I would try and get myself diagnosed. What did I have to lose? If anything, they just tell me, no, you don't have ADHD, try a little harder and stop complaining. And yes, of course it took me like 8 months after deciding to get diagnosed to schedule the actual appointment. What did you expect? That's like the first checkmark box on the ADHD list. I started seeing a psychologist and he would ask the typical, do you have a hard time focusing? And I'd go, yeah, like this one time yesterday, and then he writes something down as I continue rambling on this hyper-specific example way too long for a neurotypical person. I met with him for a few weeks, and then it came down to diagnosis day. The nerves, man. I was so ready for him to say I'm a normal person who needs to suck it up. But instead, he was like, okay, so yeah, you definitely exhibit symptoms of someone with the inattentive type of ADHD. And autism. Yippee! My struggles are justified. I'm not crazy. Wait, what was that last part? He explained all the different ways ADHD affects me and the different areas I struggle with compared to others. He even gave me a 37-page document of his conclusions and information on how my brain works, with graphs and pictures. I've read through it all a bunch of times now, and it's already really helped me understand how I tick. I call them the autism docs, but I'm not gonna get into that side of the diagnosis. Let's just brush that one away for now. There's a couple types of ADHD you can have: hyperactive, inattentive, and combined, which is both hyperactive and inattentive. Hyperactive is the type people typically go to when they think of a loud kid who can't sit still. People with this kind normally need to fidget, have low patience, tend to talk a lot, and have trouble staying seated, especially when they're expected to, like in a meeting or school. Inattentive is the one where someone experiences difficulty in focus, memory, organization, has a low attention span. That's the one I have. It's self-explanatory, but if you have the combined type of ADHD, then you got it all. ADHD jackpot right there, my friend. I brought up during the appointments that I used to be such a good kid in school with seemingly zero ADHD symptoms, and how that part has always confused me. And he had a couple hypotheses about it. One, since my mom has always been a big source of my organizational influence, I was able to depend and lean on her for the majority of my school life for it. I felt like I was naturally capable of staying on top of things because she was right behind me the whole time, reminding me and guiding me through stuff. So when I moved out, everything started crumbling, which lines up pretty perfectly to when I did start struggling. Another explanation he gave was the fact that ADHD affects women differently than men, which is also less researched. Love to hear that one. Not only do women tend to be able...
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry.
Love to hear that one. Not only do women tend to be able to mask their symptoms better than guys, so it goes much more unnoticed, but they also experience ADHD differently. And research says there's a chance it can just start affecting women later in life. I'm no ADHD scientist though, that's just what I've been told by specialists. I don't know, I've just got the dang thing. Either way, those two explanations make a lot of sense to me and have since put my weird ADHD imposter syndrome to rest. I didn't really think that getting a diagnosis would change much about how I go about my life, but since getting my ADHD certificate and lollipop, it's completely revolutionized how I think and go about getting things done. It's still hard to get my ass into gear when I need to do one normal thing that's not difficult, but I'm much less hard on myself and will strike almost like these kinds of mental deals to loophole myself into getting things done. Like, for example, if I really don't want to edit a video, I'll say to myself, okay, I know it's gonna be super hard for me to immediately start that task, so I'll get myself into the mindset of getting things done by doing a simple other task I don't find difficult, like cleaning my room. That way, I'll feel productive and can transition that into tackling the original task much easier. It doesn't always work, but it's the mindset change and overall understanding that sometimes I'm gonna have to go about things in different ways that's helped me a lot. Also, after being diagnosed with ADHD, I didn't have much desire to get medicated. I figured just knowing I have it would be enough to get things into gear, and I didn't really need medication that badly. But the content creator in me also thought, well, if I'm gonna write a script about having ADHD, it would be nice to be able to talk about what it's like to be medicated, even just for a day. So I got prescribed good old classic instant release Adderall. Instant release means I don't have to take it every day. I can just take it when I need to get stuff done. It affects me immediately and then wears off after a few hours. There's also extended release, which is the kind you take every day and gives you a constant steady stream of medication. It wasn't until I had the Adderall in my hands when I realized the idea of taking it for the first time made me nervous. Like, what is this thing gonna do to me? I have so many friends with ADHD, honestly a higher ratio than friends without it. That's how it goes in content creation. All these MFs have it. They were all telling me that it's awesome, how you'll take it and immediately feel like a god, and you can do anything and it's incredible. And yeah, that sounds great, but also like, what the hell? What do you mean I take this little pill and suddenly all of my problems seemingly disappear and I gain superpowers? That's scary. That sounds like the thing every adult in a 20-mile radius warned us about when we were kids. Am I gonna feel like a completely different person? I don't know if I'm ready to experience immortality. I put off taking Adderall for so long because I was irrationally scared of the tiny blue pill, but coincidentally, I really needed to get a script done. If I take too long to write a video script, then the team runs out of work to do, and then I have a bunch of people sitting around and waiting for me to give them more work so they can pay their bills and survive and stuff. But for the freaking life of me, I just could not get myself to sit down and write that script. My body and soul found it mentally easier to backflip off a bridge than write words on the computer. After literally 2 months of my brain going, ooh, you better write that script. I won't let you enjoy a single moment of your life if you aren't writing that script. I don't wanna. Get up, go to the bridge. After that constant loop, I finally swallowed my fears and took my first Adderall. I had talked to James a lot about what Adderall is like since he's been on it for a few years now, and after I took one, I was messaging him like, I did it. I ate an Adderall. How long does it normally take to start? How do I know? What do I do? And he was helping me a lot and giving me tips. Then, like 20 minutes later, I felt it. All the non-stop thoughts going on in my brain went silent. I could think clearly and in like a line. My mind wasn't racing a mile a minute. I was able to sit behind my laptop and write. It was incredible. I was messaging all my friends about it the entire time. I can write my script and not get distracted. I don't have to take a mental break every 10 minutes. I can remember things. Kelsey sent me a message and I thought, I'll check that in a bit. And I remembered to check in a bit and respond. When I opened a new tab to look something up, I didn't go down a random unrelated rabbit hole. I picked up my phone to check something and didn't impulsively scroll Twitter for an hour. I can write words so easily. How am I doing this? What do you mean I can feel like this whenever I want if I just eat the tiny blue pill? I refuse to believe regular people can function like this on a day-to-day basis. No way. It wouldn't be fair. You guys don't have loud, non-stop voices in your heads preventing you from doing normal things? Come on, just admit it. You can't pick something up and immediately keep remembering what you were supposed to be doing with it. You always forget and feel crazy. Come on. Come on. I was so suspicious that on Adderall, either nothing would happen and I just wouldn't feel anything, or I would feel like I'm a totally different person experiencing some higher-than-life manic episode. But no, I just felt like myself, but with my shit together. And that's the part I couldn't believe. After 2 months of war, I finally was able to plant myself down and write my damn script. You wanna know what script I wrote while experiencing Adderall for the first time? This one. I was struggling to write a script about ADHD, and the thing that finally pulled it out of me was Adderall. Come on, you gotta admit that's funny. Yeah, it was great. I didn't think my head was loud before, or I was that impulsive, or had that hard of a time focusing. But now that I've been able to peacefully sit in one spot for hours and not need to take a break, or check social media, or get distracted by some stupid tangent I don't actually care about, yeah, this changes things. I still can't believe what I was able to accomplish. Writing a script in 3 hours. compared to my typical 12 hours, aka one mediocre thing with no struggle at all. And you want to know what I did right after I wrote this script? I immediately got up and cleaned the birds' room without rotting in bed for 3 hours beforehand. I just went from one task to another without thinking about it. All you neurotypical people must be thinking I'm literally pathetic and useless, but I know my ADHD brethren are out of their chairs right now hearing that. I'm not standing before you all to give you scientific data and information on ADHD or diagnose you or even promote prescribed drugs. I'm just here to talk about a big and recent experience in my life, how much of an impact and effect it's had on me, and how awesome feeling normal is. Seriously, being able to take a deep breath in mental silence is incredible. Cherish that feeling if you don't have a neurodevelopmental disorder. It took me 26 years to realize my woes were not actually woes, but symptoms of brain chemical deficiency. I'm writing this video, all things considered, pretty recently after being diagnosed, and I'm still trying to learn how to rebuild my life in a way that lets me optimize my productivity and get things done at a normal level. But so far, I've come so much further than I thought I could simply by knowing what's going on up there in the old noodle. And Adderall. If you're on the fence about being diagnosed with something, I get it. It's scary. It's scary to think you might have it, and it's also scary to think you might not have it. It's an odd place to be. But for me, having a concrete answer from a professional is what got me to finally stop feeling stuck in place and actually start moving forward again. It's been great. I'm excited to keep learning more things about how my mind works and find new ways to improve my day-to-day life. Cheers to getting normal shit done.
In case you missed it, I have new merch! For a limited time, you can get yourself a new and improved Ari plush and a completely new soft Ari jacket. I love both of these products, and up until June 23rd, they could be all yours! If you miss it, you'll never know how fluffy and pillowy the jacket is. Oh, it's like a cloud. Or how cuddly and friend-shaped the plush is. Plus, it's a great way to support both me and the team while we continue to make animations for you. Check them out at jadenanimations.com. Thanks for watching the video, and good luck simply existing to all my ADHD. Okay, before I even say anything, let's lay out some ground rules. This is probably gonna be the most open I'll ever get about my personal life. I know I've shared tidbits of myself and life through little stories, but when it comes to personal stuff, I'm very private. Especially within the past few years. I'm gonna be talking in very general surface level terms because specific personal details are for me to know, and in the nicest way possible, none of your business. Basically, this is something I want to talk about, share, and bring a spotlight to. But at the same time, you get the Cliff Notes version. So no trying to assume or guess anything beyond what I'm sharing within this video. At the end of the day, we're all just strangers refusing to listen to the stranger danger rule. Alright, formalities aside, let's get into it. I've come to realize that I'm ARO-ACE, which stands for Aromantic Asexual. And I know what you're thinking. That's not gay. What the hell is that? And you know what? That is completely fair, because I didn't know what that was either. Aromantic and asexual are two different things, and I'm gonna break them down to you separately, starting with aromantic because no one really knows what that one is. And also, it's my personal favorite. Someone who's aromantic is defined as a person who feels very little to no romantic attraction to anyone at all. So like, they might not develop crushes on people or feel the need to be in a romantic relationship with anyone. Very general terms, but hopefully you kind of get the gist. If not, here's a little story example from me. Growing up, I never developed crushes on anyone. I remember when I was in 5th grade, kids were talking about their crushes left and right, and it was starting to feel like something I had to experience too, just because I thought that's just what happens. Don't make fun of 9-year-old me, I was a sheep. Anyway, I decided I needed to have a crush because that's just what happens to people. And I very robotically chose this random kid in the class who we can call Pikachu. That's not his name. He didn't mean anything to me and I didn't do anything about this crush. Like, I didn't tell anyone or anything. It was just a headcanon thing for me to feel up to speed and like I was hitting my normal human emotions quota. But it's funny because on Valentine's Day, you know how in elementary school everyone would bring cheesy Walmart Valentine's cards for everyone in the class, and then you'd have a box full of candy and hollow emotions from everyone? Well, my school did that. When I went through my box, I pulled out Pikachu's Valentine and thought to myself, someone who has a crush on someone would
keep this. I think. So I put Pikachu's copy-paste Batman Valentine in my drawer and promptly forgot about it because it meant nothing to me, but hey, that's just what I thought I was supposed to do. Man, I'm so good at this. Then like a year or so later when my mom was going through my room, she pulled out the card and was like, "Why do you have this?" And I was like, honestly, I have no idea. Years passed, I entered junior high and thought to myself, all right, this is the time where people start developing crushes and then do something about it. Like get into relationships or something. So I was like preparing to be interested in people. On the first day of school, I scoped out the room to see if there was anyone that I thought looked like someone I could develop a crush on. And this was when classes started being divided up into periods, so there were like 6 batches of people I sifted through. But no one caught my eye, and I thought, man, unlucky. Went through the whole school year, next year rolled around, classes changed, I did the same potentials crush scoping again, and the same thing happened. I wasn't drawn to anyone at all. Man, unlucky again. Every year I thought something would change, especially going into high school when people started actually hitting puberty and were getting conventionally attractive. But my entire school life, grades kindergarten to senior year, which I'm pretty sure is like 13 years, I wasn't interested in a single person throughout any of it. And what's funny was I was thinking, man, what's the deal? Why is no one attractive? And I went to a big high school. There were like 3,500 students there. Surely I am not the outlier in this formula. Why are none of you attractive? By the time I was going to college, I really felt like I had to find someone. It felt like I was falling behind the curve, or if I was gonna find someone, it was gonna have to happen now. I made a lot of new friends, and that's when I thought I developed my first genuine crush. Long story short, in hindsight, no, it wasn't a crush, and I was just wrong. I just met someone who I thought was cool and funny and had a really strong desire to be close to them. But looking back, knowing what I do now, it wasn't in a romantic way. I realized I can get very excited and tunnel vision on people I think are really cool or interesting, and kind of obsess over getting to know them or just want to spend a lot of time with them. But whenever I got into those tunnel vision moments, if I sat down and asked myself if I actually wanted to be in a relationship with them and hold hands or cuddle or kiss, the answer was not really, but if they wanted to, I could go along with it. Which I do not think is right. In my very old flirting video, which I refuse to rewatch, I think at one point in it I said something along the lines of, if you're interested in someone but they just want to be friends, I don't understand why some people can't deal with that. And that was primarily because I didn't realize there was an emotional difference between a crush or falling in love and just being really good friends with someone. So, oops, sorry for the bad take, I think. I really just thought having a crush on someone was wanting to be their #1 best friend. Look, I said don't make fun of me. To me, it used to feel like if I was wanting to become friends with someone to that high of a degree, that would be the next step or justify why I wanted to put this much time, effort, and energy into one person. And it didn't feel right or even fair going through all of this with someone and then tell them they're just a friend. I don't know, it just didn't feel like it made sense, even though I really didn't technically see them in a romantic way. I just didn't understand what was going on really, or that there was supposed to be real emotions instead of a logical understanding of steps. And the fact that I was under the assumption that I was supposed to be interested in people in a romantic way didn't help with anything. I always preferred to stay good friends, but never felt like I could have that, and I worried that if I said no, that we would just start drifting apart, which I obviously didn't want either. It's been a very long journey discovering this about myself. Everything I'm saying has all been extremely subconscious and not understood or defined for many years. I even used to think I was bi or pan for the longest time because I would think to myself, well, bi is being interested in both genders. I don't really care for either, but 0 is equal to 0, so I guess I'm bi or pan. I got math involved. If I knew what aromanticism was when I was growing up, things would have been a lot less complicated for me a lot sooner. I think it's mainly because people don't really talk about it or even know what it is or that it's real. Romance and love is the #1 most talked about topic on the planet. Everything I've been taught or learned through society is that love and romance is everywhere. Everyone feels it, and it's gonna happen to you. Just a funny little note, there was a point where I was listening to some generic romance song on the radio, you know, like all of them, and I just suddenly thought to myself, wait, do people actually feel these things towards each other? Like all these mushy lyrics are real emotions? They're not joking? And that's when I started feeling like something was different. I approached romance under the blanket term thought of, sure, why not? And didn't recognize it was actually a feeling, which might sound stupid, but look, I don't know. No one presented me with any other options. I did a lot of rationalizing. If someone ever expressed romantic interest in me, I would mentally make a kind of logical list of their pros and cons and the pros and cons of what a relationship would look like with them based on what I knew about them as a person. I didn't realize there was supposed to be an extra, excited feeling, or the fact that you're not supposed to think about it as if it were a business exchange. I understand compatibility is a huge important variable when it comes to sharing a relationship with someone, but at the end of the day, it's still, apparently, still a very emotionally driven thing. And I literally had to make that discovery and teach it to myself. Now, I'm gonna talk about being asexual very briefly, and I'm gonna preface it with, let's all just be mature about this, all right? We're all pretending to be adults here. I've got my eye on some of you. Behave! Okay, this is definitely treading into uncomfortable personal boundary territory for me, but yeah, I do want to share that I'm asexual too, which is defined as someone who feels little to no intimate attraction to anyone. Look, I know we said we're all adults, but I'm still gonna dance around the vocabulary, all right? Yes, there's a difference between romantic and intimate attraction. Little side note, I will say you can...
Want to turn hair loss into hair gains? With Hims, discover a range of prescription treatments, like the quick-drying 4-in-1 spray, formulated with finasteride and minoxidil, so you can regrow hair in just 3 to 6 months at hims.com.
You can experience romantic attraction to someone but no intimate attraction, or you can experience intimate attraction but no romantic attraction. You can be one and not the other. It's not necessarily a package deal. Most people feel both, and I do not feel either. Anyway, I have never been magnetically attracted to the look or shape of a single person in my entire life, and did not realize it was a real thing until very recently. I'm able to identify when someone looks conventionally attractive, like by textbook definition, but I never realized people are genuinely drawn to people they think are attractive. I didn't know that people could just see someone and be like, wow, they're gorgeous. I would love to get to know that person, or maybe go on a date with them, or whatever else you people do. I didn't think it was real. I thought people were exaggerating or something. I don't know. And I also couldn't believe that some people feel that with multiple people. Or like celebrities, which sounds absolutely exhausting. It ties back to when I was in school, like looking around for people to like. It makes sense now that no one caught my eye because that doesn't happen to me. I was just wasting my time for 13 years. I feel like such a fool. Now, there's an easy assumption to make about asexual people and that they all have zero interest in being intimate with anyone at all, which actually isn't true. Some of them are genuinely turned off by it, and some aren't. Some reasons would be that they just don't mind it, or they want to make their partner happy, or enjoy the emotional closeness of it. There's a million different reasons and a million different people. Am I sharing what kind of a people I am? Nope. And you don't know me personally enough in the slightest to be able to try and parasocially analyze where I stand on that spectrum. I'm just here to say I am this. We are moving on. When I stumbled onto the term aro ace and started realizing I fall into that category, it helped me feel much more confident and sure broken or that something was wrong with them. But honestly, I was the complete opposite. Coming from my very biased perspective, I think aro ace is one of, if not the coolest and most confident orientations out there. Not needing a single gram of romantic or intimate validation from anyone is so cool. All you need is yourself to be happy, maybe friends and family too. And birds. The more I came to terms with the fact I'm aro ace, the more empowered and capable I felt. But at the same time, I was also starting to feel more alone and isolated. As cool and amazing and unique and awesome as I think it is, it can be really hard for other people to relate to or even understand. Everyone else and their orientations are able to bond and relate to the love and romance aspects, and we're over here like, we don't do that. I don't even know if I'm explaining it very well. It kind of does go against everything everyone's ever been taught about anything. Romance is taught to be a basic assumed assumed emotion, which I do think is a bit misleading. A common argument used against the aro-ace orientation is that romance and intimacy is what makes someone human. But I mean, I don't know, lots of birds mate for life, which is a better ratio than people, and all animals get frisky. You know, that's just how they became not extinct. It's not an exclusive to humans thing. If I were to guess, I would assume the thing that makes someone human is basic empathy. Like, I'm not an emotionalist monster. I can still love people. I love my family and my pets, just platonically. And I would hope that you're the same. I just don't experience romantic love, which, I don't know, I don't think that's harming anyone. Definitely not me. I'm having the time of my life. I don't think you need to be in a relationship to be happy. And if you don't want to be just on your own, I think there's many types of people in relationships that push the boundaries of what a conventional relationship looks like. Telling someone that they need to be in a romantic relationship to be happy and fulfilled is weird. And then when that person says they're not happy, they're told relationships take a lot of work and that's just how it goes. And that's also weird. I don't know. I also think it's weird that once someone reaches a certain age, people inherently start thinking it's sad they're not in a romantic relationship or assume they're lonely and sad. No one thinks a child is sad and lonely just because they're not in a long-term relationship. I don't know. I don't get it. And I also think I'm rambling. At the end of the day, it's all very complicated to talk about these things, especially because I don't know the feelings I'm supposed to be feeling, let alone talk about. I just know for me, the terms aromantic and asexual are able to articulate things I was subconsciously feeling and thinking before I even realized I was feeling and thinking them. I don't plan on talking about this very much, if at all, ever again. I just want to play my silly little video games, maybe tell a story here or there. But I wanted to bring the orientations to the surface and try to get more representation out there because I thought if I could help more people become more aware of this, then that would be awesome. I was confused as hell for a while and could have used something like this. It's a real thing. You don't have to feel any sort of romance or whatever to be considered a real person. Personally, I think it's really cool and badass. And don't be afraid to look more into aromanticism or asexualism if any of what I said in this video resonated with you to any degree. Like I said, this is all very surface level stuff. They're both much larger spectrums than you'd think, and maybe you fall under some umbrella category with them. I don't know, or not. Either way, this has all been my personal experience with this stuff. Is there more for me to figure out within it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. It can get pretty complicated and confusing. Haha, awesome. Will I be sharing any of that with you? Nope, no way, this is all you get. Hope you can understand even just a little of what I talked about. And if not, that's totally fine. I just hope you can be nice. Thanks for listening. I never really intended on making this video because I haven't really felt a strong urge to, like, I don't like using this phrase for myself, but come out. But I did end up wanting to make the video to make people more aware of this stuff because I think it's important and someone has to. There's not really that many people doing it right now. Anyway, yeah, just moving forward, I guess. See you later.
The chicken or the egg? The question isn't which came first. It's which comes with...
Remember when Pokemon sent me every single one of their Gen 5 sitting cuties for me to rank? Turns out they really liked that video. So much, in fact, that they said, "Hey Jaden, awesome video. Why don't you come to Japan to watch the Pokemon 2023 World Championships?" Our treat. You won't have to pay for your flights or hotel or nothing. I've been to Japan once before in my entire life, and it was back in 2018 with my family. We did a bunch of fun little Japanese tourist things. It was a phenomenal trip, but ever since then, I've always wanted to go back and do all the awesome nerdy stuff Japan has to offer that I didn't want to bother my family with. At the time, they didn't even know who Luffy was. They would have been so lost. So when Pokemon extended their hand and offered to fly not only me, but Jacob out to attend the biggest Pokemon tournament in the world, I jumped for joy. Free trip to Japan! The tournament was was only going on for a single weekend, but Jacob and I planned to stay there for 3 whole weeks to do a bunch of said extra nerdy stuff. We were pumped. Eventually the time came, Jacob and I were packing up all our stuff, and decided we both would bring an extra suitcase so we could treat ourselves a bit and buy a bunch of cool stuff while we're there. Don't judge us, we're anime and Nintendo-loving impulse buyers going to Japan. A game plan was needed. We were being responsible. 2 extra suitcases was definitely gonna be enough. Yep. Equipped with our extra luggage, we headed off to the airport. Pokemon straight up gave us business class seats. We didn't ask for them or anything. So when we boarded, we realized we had the seats where you could lay down. There even was some sort of seat divider that acted like a car window, so I could roll it down and bother Jacob whenever I wanted. Quick little 11-hour flight later, and we were in Japan. It was time to have the best trip of our lives. I'm not joking. I had the most incredible trip and got to do things I won't ever forget. And I won't, because I've now plastered it onto the internet forever. We landed midday Japan time, so we decided to go to the first thing we wanted to see while abroad. Japanese McDonald's. I couldn't order anything except fries, but Jacob and I both dropped our jaws when we saw something called the Double Big Mac on the menu. I thought Americans already went big with the Big Mac, but Japan did the impossible, just to send a message. What a magical place. Let's begin with the next morning. Pokemon planned a bunch of cool stuff for the creators and partners they flew out, beginning with a group field trip to the Mega Tokyo Pokemon Center. Jacob and I woke up early for it and missed the bus they had for us. And it totally wasn't completely my fault entirely, because I hypothetically didn't read the schedule correctly and was taking my sweet time getting ready. Why would you think that? So we had to take the trains on our own to get there. Anyone that remembers my first Japan trip knows the trains were me and my family's mortal enemy number 1. We kept getting it wrong, and it was failure after failure the entire trip. You'd think that with all that prior experience and struggle, I would have grown as a Japanese train understander, right? Nope, we got on the wrong train. But at least we were having a good time, haha. After a lot of freaking out and mental strain and regrets, we finally arrived at our destination, and although by the time we got there they had already finished looking at the Pokemon Center, we were able to grab a quick snack with the group at the Pokemon Sweets Cafe. I meant to take a picture of the Pikachu waffle before I ate half its cranium, but I forgot, so this is what you get. Now that we were with the group, we were able to travel with them for the rest of the day, so we packed into the bus and headed off to a traditional tea ceremony where we were taught all about how the tea masters would make tea and tea etiquette, and all these things about the significance of tea in Japanese culture, all while getting to taste the tea master made. Again, I meant to take this picture before I took a chunk out of the little sweet they gave us, but here we are yet again. I'm just not that great at this. They also served us a really special lunch of super fancy bento boxes, like so fancy that the host was like, dude, I've never even had these bento boxes before. I was super excited, but I don't mean to be ungrateful or wasteful, but the box was full of super fancy, complicated fish and seafood. I knew going to Japan I'd have to be flexible with food because it's really hard to be vegan or even vegetarian there, so I really tried to eat as much as possible and look thankful. But yeah, I struggled a lot. But I still had a great time, and it was an honor. We were dropped off at the Yokohama Chinatown and left to explore a bit until dinner in a few hours. Everyone separated into groups, and Jacob, Stefan, the guy that sent me all the sitting cuties, you guys remember him, the guy named Steve, and I went and pursued the street food a bit before stumbling into a little arcade with a bunch of crane machines. I got this silly little bear minifigure. His name is Chico, so I decided to innocently carry him around in my pocket for the entirety of the trip. You know, because it was silly. This single action severely changed the course of my mental stability going forward. You'll see soon enough. But look at these cute photos I got with them. We had a great dinner, headed back to the hotel, got to hang out with our good old Pokemon rival Jan a bit, and called it a night. The next day we all got to do some private shopping at the Pokemon World's pop-up shop. I'll just say we bought way too much stuff that we also don't regret in the slightest. I even got this video of Jacob grabbing more and more sitting cuties as the workers kept reorganizing them to keep the display looking perfect. We walked out of there with 3 giant bags of stuff. But it's okay, because remember, we anticipated this with our extra suitcases, which I am starting to wonder if they are going to be enough, but surely we will come down. We were then all taken to the creatures' offices. You know, just the place where they make Pokemon cards. It was gorgeous in there. They had these awesome sculptures of giant Pokemon cards with crystals, and all the walls were lined with 3D card art. It felt like I was in a building with a lot of significance. Because I was. We got a tour around the building, met the TCG card testers, and were able to ask them questions about their process. Even got to have a little Q&A session with Atsushi Nagashima, the game director of the Pokemon TCG. It was funny, one of the people in our group asked how they chose which Pokemon to make cards for. A good question. And then followed it up with, I really like Mantike, but there's only 2 Mantike cards that exist. And the assistant pulled up a list of all the Pokemon Mantike cards that have ever been created, and sure enough, there were only 2. The director chuckled and was essentially like, yeah, sometimes Pokemon get lost in the cracks. We kinda just make cards of Pokemon I like. For example, my favorite Pokemon is Gengar. And you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. Also, we were able to have a Q&A session with the Pokemon card art director and 3 artists who actually draw art for the cards. That was super interesting, and I was so incredibly inspired by that discussion. But you know those Pokemon cards with the super cute clay art? That artist's name is Yuka Mori, and she was in that panel. I was so starstruck. Those are some of my favorite Pokemon cards. And not only that, but she hosted a little workshop for us where she gave us clay and taught us how to make little clay Magnemites like in this card here. Speaking of this card, she brought the actual original Magnemite for us to see. That was by far the coolest thing that I've ever gotten to be a part of. We got to meet a piece of genuine history. I felt like I was meeting the president. Also, here's me and Jacob's Magnemites that we made. Day 3 of our little Pokemon field trip, and we were taken to another Pokemon Center. This time in Shibuya, which was also right across from a Nintendo store. It was like a bullet was shot through our credit cards. In the shopping center, I saw a little gacha machine with little miniature Chiikawa plushes. I was only interested in getting Chiikawa, but I decided to test my luck anyway. And I got him first try! Now I had 2 of them. Yes, the original was still in my pocket. You can safely assume he is in my pocket for the entirety of this video. I've got pictures to prove it. Jacob snapped this awesome picture of the Chiikawa brain rot taking over. When we were looking around in the Shonen Jump shop, a little Japanese boy pointed at Jacob and went, Sanji-san, before his mother quickly yanked him away, and I still to this day laugh at that interaction. Poor kid saw his first blonde guy in real life and immediately thought it was Sanji. Later that day, we also got to attend the Pokemon Symphony, where a live orchestra played Pokemon songs, and it was absolutely incredible. Video game orchestras are so cool. It always tugs on my heartstrings to see video game music transformed into such a beautiful new art form. Highly recommend attending one if you have any favorite games or franchises. On to the first day of Worlds. It was exciting, people flooded into the venue, we watched the opening ceremony in the crowd. Just wow. This is the whole reason why we're here. We went back to shopping. Look at this cute little Chiikawa book I found in a nearby bookstore. At this point, we were absolutely pushing it in terms of luggage space, and we were day 4 into a 2.5-week trip. Our shopping sprees until this point were very...
A roach infestation can happen overnight. Combat Roach Killing Bait stops the problem before it starts. Combat's a trusted leader in roach bait, killing roaches till the last one's dead. Available at stores near you. Defend your home with Combat.
Not frugal. So we cut our losses and bought 2 extra giant suitcases to fit everything better. Okay, we knew we were gonna need extra suitcases. Getting a few extra couldn't hurt. Look, the flights were paid for. We were still saving money at this point, I think. That's my rationalization. I'm going with that. Also in the mall were tons of Pokemon monitors straight up playing the World Championships. TCG, Pokemon Go, VGC. Japan treated Worlds like it was the Super Bowl. And it was just so cool to see one of my main interests so culturally celebrated. People of all ages would stop by to watch for a bit before going back to their shopping. I can't explain it, but it just made me very happy. We even got to see Wolfie live on the monitors. How'd he do? He did great. Don't worry about it. Nothing happened. Look, we were just happy to see our friend on the Pokeball screen. Proud of you, Wolfie. You're so cool. The second day of Worlds was hype. So hype that we left Yokohama and flew to Osaka. I haven't mentioned it yet, but we actually got tickets to see the one and only Hatsune Miku live in concert. The real ones know how huge that is for me. I want to talk about how life-changing that was, but I'm gonna make a whole separate video about that experience I'll be posting next. All I'm gonna say is... it was the best day of my entire life. By a lot. Subscribe now before you miss it, just saying. I will mention, we did have to take the train to get back later that night and got super lost again. And we never get better at it. Don't expect anything to change in that regard. We did finally get back to Yokohama, crashed for the night, and had a nice slow morning as we got ready for finals later that day. To any One Piece fans who are caught up, we were in Japan for the One Piece anime episode. You know what I'm talking about. 1072. We were able to turn on our hotel TV and watch it live. And that was so cool. I don't talk about how much I love One Piece much, mainly because it doesn't really come up, but One Piece's peak, and it was an honor to be in Japan at such an iconic part of the manga and anime's history. Anyway, back to Pokemon, sorry about that. We were able to watch the final VGC match live, got to chat and eat dinner with Wolfie and some other friends, had a late night hangout with Jan again, and that was about it. Day 7 meant it was time to pack up all our stuff from the hotel, say goodbye to Pokemon and Yokohama, and head on over to the apartment we rented for the rest of our stay just outside of Tokyo. At this point, we had filled up all 6 suitcases and multiple backpacks. I didn't mention it, but Pokemon gave us a truckload of gifts that we genuinely had no idea what to do with. We're grateful nonetheless, thank you Pokemon. But yeah, the taxi ride was a bit awkward. So, are you meeting up with some friends? No. After we got situated in the new place, we decided to look around the area and grab some lunch. And I gotta say, the little hole-in-the-wall restaurant Jacob found was some of the best ramen I've ever had ever. They even made it vegetarian for me, which was extremely kind of them. Food modifying is a bit tricky in Japan compared to the States, so I was very, very thankful. And it was delicious! We then proceeded to do absolutely nothing for the rest of the day because we were exhausted from the trip so far. I haven't mentioned absolutely everything we'd been doing on the trip because it would be a lot of, first we did this and it was cool, then we did this and it was cool. Even though it was such a pleasure to be invited, I was so dead and definitely looked super not approachable or friendly to the rest of the group by the end of it. Sorry, guys. But neither time nor Japan stops for anyone, so we had to keep on chugging along. There were a bunch of friends we wanted to see while in Japan, and one of them was Connor. He wanted to take us to what he deemed his favorite Italian place ever. I asked if it was like fancy Italian, to which I was given the answer of no. So we get there, having a great time, and suddenly we realize Junichi Masuda, the director of Game Freak, is there having dinner. Not a fancy dinner, my ass. I then look down to see the Freddy Fazbear FNAF t-shirt that I am wearing. Not the best Jaden moment to exist, but hey, what can you do? The food was phenomenal though. I already mentioned the best ramen I've ever had while on the trip, but this was genuinely the best pasta I've ever had in my entire life. Maybe even a top 3 meals ever for me. I don't know what the other 2 would be, but that Connor place is definitely up there. The next day we went to the One Piece store in Shibuya and bought a lot of stuff because there was a lot of topical and hype things in there, as you could imagine. If you don't get it, go catch up and come back. Don't worry, it won't take too long. My favorite character is Mihawk, but out of all the stuff the store had to offer, there were only a few stickers and a single keychain for Mihawk. I'm still mauling about that one. I just want more Mihawk. Is that too much to ask for? Even this guy got better merch. The world's greatest swordsman deserves better. I guess I'll just take my Zoro and Law stuff. That's cool too, I suppose. I also found a bunch of Chikawa stuff in a Kittyland store, and this is truly when you get to see where things start going downhill for me. I just like the funny little cartoon bear thing. What, is that such a crime? I don't remember what we did the rest of the day. I think we just crashed and passed out. This trip, as surreal as it's been so far, has been absolutely taking a toll on me, and I desperately needed to just not move or talk or exist for a bit. We were doing so many different things that were all awesome, and hanging out with so many different people that were all awesome, but man, I am not built for extended periods of that much excitement and socializing. As much as I would like to change this fact, I'm also not a very active person. I know. Up until this trip, I was practically sitting down 24/7, working all the time to prep as much work as possible so I could have a guilt-free 3 weeks off, and my muscles were definitely starting to decay at that point. I looked at my phone's step meter thing, and there was one day where I literally got 300 steps. That's pathetic. And suddenly, I'm logging over 20,000 daily. My body was screaming. What the hell are you doing out there? Please stop. Plus, we were in Japan during the hottest, most humid time of the year. Every time we left the air-conditioned luxury of a building, we would immediately be drenched in sweat. Look, I'm used to the heat. I grew up in Arizona, but even this was too much. So yeah, crash and burn it was. Tokyo Disneyland was a bit underwhelming. It felt like a slightly worse version of the one in California because of the oddly spaced layout and surprisingly empty vibe. We did go to a Stitch-themed show thing, and as we were walking in, a worker stopped us and said, "Oh, excuse me, Stitch only speaks Japanese," like warning us it's not super tourist friendly. But I just think the statement of Stitch only speaks Japanese is hilarious. We went in anyway, and yep, Stitch only spoke Japanese. Yeah, overall, it was not the best thing we did, but apparently, I didn't know this, Japan has two Disneys, Disneyland and Disney Sea. And we went to Land, which is unanimously deemed the worst of the two. So, oops, better luck next time. Jacob and I took 2 more rest days where we just turned to ash. Then up and at 'em, back to Osaka we go. This time we went to an Eve concert. Besides Hatsune Miku, the Japanese band Eve is the only other concert I've said I wanted to go see. I love their music videos they have for all their songs. It's always such beautiful animation. And by the way, they're the ones who sang the season 1 Jujutsu Kaisen anime opening theme, if you're lost. Earlier in the trip, Jacob just so happened to look up if they were doing a concert while we were there, and lo and behold, they were. He got some totally not scalped tickets, which turned out to be a super complicated process, so thank you, Jacob. You're the bestest friend I've ever had. Thank you for going through the trenches for silly old me. Anyway, the concert was so incredible. The atmosphere was fantastic. They had awesome visual effects going on. The glow bands a lot of people bought were perfectly synced to the music and colors on the stage, which really enhanced the experience. The music was great, which, I mean, of course it was. That was the whole reason we went in the first place. I talk about it more in the upcoming Miku video, but Japanese encores are so much different from the American ones. They're so quiet and polite. There was pretty much no screaming and cheering. It was just a long applause with a semi-whisper chant of "Encore, encore." And they also made us wait like 5 minutes for them to come back out. My hands were getting itchy just from clapping so much, that's how long it took. And then when they finally came out, they ended up doing like 5 extra songs. I mean, I'm not complaining, but after the 4th time thinking, man, that was a great last extra song. Well, time to head home. Wait,
Organic and dairy-free. Woo!
Here we go.
At Sprouts, our shelves are filled with new.
Well, time to head home. Wait, another? It starts getting a bit comedic. This is just a side tangent, but Jacob went off to use the bathroom before the show started and came back 10 minutes later like, dude, this is crazy, but it took me a bit longer to find a bathroom because there were so many extra women's bathrooms, which is like, whoa, that's actually so smart. There's always such a huge line for the women's bathroom compared to the men's in any scenario. I was just shocked Japan was like, okay, then we'll make more women's bathrooms to fix that problem. Like it was so simple. I know in America it would probably turn into a stupid political thing, but it made me so happy Japan just implemented such an obvious and straightforward solution so easily for the gals. The next day we headed over to Universal, which was hands down the best amusement park I've ever been to. So they can do amusement parks well. First of all, Universal Japan is way more anime and manga focused than the ones in the States, which made it instantly more engaging for me. Jacob and I both agreed we would window shop for the first part of the day, and then buy all the things we wanted as we were leaving so we wouldn't have to lug around a bunch of bags all day. But we immediately saw a little one-piece shop and cracked. We just wanted to wear these one-piece headbands. That's rule-breaking worthy. We also got some towels because, surprise, surprise, it was freaking hot. I know I've been complaining about the weather here and there, but my lord, it was miserably scorching. Japan has such a big culture around staying cool while outside, and I totally get it now. People would be walking around with little fans, ice packs, towels. A lot of women had parasols. I'll say, if we didn't get those towels, we probably could have passed out from heat stroke that day. Later on, I even ended up getting another towel. It was a cute Pikachu one, but I got it mainly because it was a cloak design design. After soaking that thing in cold water and putting it on, my body temperature instantly lowered like 5 degrees. However, that meant I was walking around the park looking like this. Back to the awesome stuff. We did a bunch of attractions like watch a fun 4D Jujutsu Kaisen show where the seats move around, went on a super cool 3D VR Spider-Man ride. We tried to cool down by going on a Minions thing called Freeze Ray Sliders that claimed to cool riders down with a blast of chilled mist from a giant freeze ray. But we got on and absolutely did not even touch a drop of the mist because it never ended up getting in range of our cart. That felt like an actual tragedy at the time. There were a few big roller coasters we wanted to go on, but I get super motion sick and forgot to bring nausea medicine, so no roller coasters for us, but I shall return one day. The park, of course, had a bunch of cool themed restaurants, one of them being a super cool One Piece restaurant. Did I mention I like One Piece? There also was a special Sanji one, but we didn't know you needed a reservation, so phooey. It was awesome though, I love One Piece. After a few hours of rides and being broiled alive, we decided to fully cool off by going on the Jurassic Park ride that's just giant splash mountain with dinosaurs. We cooked in line for probably a solid hour, and as soon as we were literally stepping foot inside the ride, it started pouring rain. Now that's just not fair. I don't even understand how that happened, but whatever. We started buying all the stuff we window shopped for as we waited for the One Piece live show to begin. Again, please refrain from judging. I am being vulnerable and open here. By the way, as we were walking around, we stumbled onto a little Mario-themed show just out in a courtyard area. They played some fun little custom songs and had all these dancers alongside the mascots. And then out of nowhere, they started absolutely blasting the crowd with like gallons of water. I didn't even see it coming. It was like firefighters showed up to put out a giant fire, except the fire was a bunch of Japanese people. The time came and we got to file in for the special One Piece live show, and even though Jacob and I didn't understand a single part of it because it was all in Japanese, it was awesome, and the costume design was phenomenal. It was a bit unfortunate though, because the seats were all in like a half circle formation around the stage. As much as they tried to make the show enjoyable from all angles, it was pretty hard to see the main things going on in the center. My only true complaint though is that Zoro didn't come to our side at all. All the other characters rotated around so we could see them, but Zoro only did it at the very end to take a bow. Also, Mihawk being included would have been nice, but it's okay. By the time we got to enter Nintendo Land, it was like 9 p.m. We got up at 6 a.m. by the way, so we pretty much just rode the Yoshi's Island ride they don't have in the States and headed home because that's all the energy we had left. But even just seeing that, it was miles better than the one in the States. Also, we picked up a little dinner at the 7-Eleven near our hotel. 7-Eleven is actually awesome in Japan, by the way. And they had a few little Chicoa plushie keychains, and I bought them. Just being transparent here. We woke up early the next morning to catch our flight back to Tokyo and hurried over to the Kirby Cafe. Emily actually booked the reservation for us. She was meant to also be there, but she was only able to get 2 seats and gave them to us as a gift. Emily, I will always be indebted to you for your sacrifice. The cafe itself was so well decorated with all these little Kirby things, and the menu was adorable. I got the star curry and a magical little fruity drink with a Kirby marshmallow that triggered my cute aggression. Jacob got the pizza and a Kirby burger, but since he made modifications, the staff asked him to not post a picture of the burger to the public. Like, they didn't know he was a content creator or anything. I guess they just didn't want the public to see a naked Kirby burger. We also both got desserts. I already decided I was gonna consume the Kirby. The presentation was beautiful. It was literal art on a plate. Taste-wise, it was decent. The body was some sort of gelatin, which I wasn't too crazy about, but the rest was super tasty. I did my best, but he ended up looking like he was in a horrific accident when I threw in the towel. The cafe also has a special little private store connected to it. And yeah, what you expect happened definitely happened. We left with full bellies and bags, continued to look around the shopping center the cafe was connected to, and ended up walking into a gacha store. I am about to be very vulnerable with you here. This is one of the lowest points of my entire life. Please don't think too much less of me after what happened in that gacha store. So I walk in, spot Chiikawa, beeline it to the machine, obviously. Like I mentioned before, I'm only interested in Chikawa, so I was only playing for him. But by the cursed luck of the gacha gods, I just could not get him. I was going back and forth between the machine and the coin exchange, getting multiples of every other little guy, but no Chikawa. I could feel the workers' glances at me, probably because the desk they were standing behind was right next to the machine I was grinding. But after way too much money, he dropped. I got my well-earned, horribly priced at that point, Chikawa. I then started looking at all the other machines, putting some coins in a few here and there, until I stopped at one that had a line of animals playing band instruments. They were very silly, but there was a little pigeon holding up cymbals, and I really wanted to get him for Jordan and Kelsey. In went the coins. Tiger, elephant, fox. It was happening again. Everything except the one I wanted. Which I know more or less that's the luck with gachas, but it was getting to the point where I was getting surprised the pigeon was dodging me as much as it was. Surely the next one. What? Eventually, I had to go back to the coin exchange, and as I was about to put in more money, I saw out of the corner of my eye one of the workers peek out and take a look in horror at all the gachapons that were sitting at the top of my bag. They then raised up their hand and said something in Japanese while shaking their head, and I knew in my heart, I was being cut off. No, please! I can stop whenever. Just a few more hits and I'm done. The pigeon is next. I can feel it. Why do you look afraid? What's under the desk? I got kicked out of a gacha store. I had hit an all-time low. I told my friends and they said they probably just thought I was gonna try and resell them, but I don't even know if that would even make it sound better, knowing I was getting so many that they thought I was robbing them blind. I just wanted my little Chikawa and pigeon with cymbals. We made dinner plans that night with a friend and we were just about to grab a taxi and head back to freshen up, but Jacob and I caught sight of a fun anime and goodies shop. Who do we think we are? People with self-control? We'll make it quick! We rushed in and split up for optimization. As I was looking around, I saw it. A whole section dedicated to Chikawa. It was like someone put a freshly baked pie on a windowsill, and I was suddenly floating over to it. My eyes were zoned in, making sure I saw every single thing possible, putting Chikawa after Chikawa in the basket. Jacob eventually came over and showed me a picture he took on his phone. In my tunnel vision, all my eyes registered was that the picture showed more Chikawa in the store. I immediately went feral. Where? Jacob's eyebrows went up in surprise and maybe a bit of fear. And as I looked at the photo again, I realized Jacob wasn't showing me a picture of a different Chikawa section. He was showing me a picture of me at the current Chikawa section I was standing in because he thought it was funny. And in my Chikawa brain rot, I didn't even register I was in the picture. I just saw more Chikawa and went obsessive. This is how I am. Either stand by me or leave. No, I don't need an intervention. Put it away. We left. I looked longingly at the crane machine Chikawas we didn't have time for, and we made it in time for dinner. Plus, we ended up in another arcade nearby anyway, and I got myself a Chikawa from one of those machines, so it worked out. Stop. I don't want to hear it. Finally, we were reaching the end of our trip. We spent the last day grabbing lunch with Emily and Didus. There was a cool One Piece scavenger hunt event going on, so we also did that with them. We basically had to walk around Shibuya and find special One Piece trading card posters hidden around the area, and if we found enough along with the special card of the day, we could get a limited edition mystery card. It was fun, but also hot, and all my clothes were sticking to my body. Didus generously let me borrow his umbrella, and I jumped for joy as he showed me it was coincidentally Chikawa themed. I don't know what's wrong with me. All I know is that bear makes me happy. We spent a few hours completing the scavenger hunt, got our special cards, and bid them farewell. Always good to see you guys. Bye-bye. I accidentally stole Didus' umbrella. It looked so calculated. They knew how much I was obsessed with Chikawa. They'd been watching my Instagram stories. Follow if you want to see brain rot in real time. Emily, I have the Chikawa umbrella. I didn't mean to steal it, I promise. It's not what it looks like. since we were leaving in the morning and wouldn't be seeing them again, they just let me keep it. But the side eye Jacob gave me the rest of the way back. I didn't mean to. Stop it! Getting back to the apartment, reality hit us hard. We needed just a few more suitcases. Again. In total, we ended up buying 6 extra suitcases to hold everything we collectively bought. And even then, it was a struggle making it fit. Jacob ended up going professional Tetris mode, perfectly fitting everything into the suitcases with quite literally no extra room to spare. We came to Japan each with a backpack, carry-on, and 1 extra big suitcase, and we're leaving with altogether 8 suitcases and 4 backpacks. We were lucky the taxi driver had a big enough car to fit everything because we didn't have much of a game plan if it didn't. Off to the airport we went, where we checked all of our excessive bags, paid a couple fees, boarded our flight, and headed home. That trip will go down as one of the best trips I've ever gone on. It felt like it turned into a celebration of everything that makes me me. All of my hobbies and interests, Pokemon, One Piece, at the last minute, Chikoa. We got to do so many incredible things and were given so many opportunities I'd never even thought I could be a part of. I got to see so many friends that are normally so far away, ate some of the best meals of my life, and overall was just really happy, especially getting to spend it all with my best friend Jacob. By the way, if you wanted to know why in the world we got so many things, yes, a lot of it was for us. 90% of it all was for our friends. 100% of the Chikoa stuff was mine, but that's besides the point. If you want to see what we got them, also credit where credit is due, the majority of it all was from Jacob, because he's a great gift giver and even more incredible friend to the people around him. We're all nothing short of lucky to be able to call him our friend. You can go watch his Japan video. I assume it's already up, because we had to animate a freaking 30-minute long video. My god, it was a lot. Thanks for sticking around. But yeah, I just had an unforgettable trip, and I owe the opportunity to the Pokemon Company for inviting us to Japan in the first place. I'm extremely lucky to be in the position I am, and will be forever grateful.
The right energy is everything. Rockstar sustains my...
For people who have been around for a while, you might be seeing the title and thinking, Jaden, aren't you allergic to cats? And to that, I'd say, yes, kind of. I'm actually not sure anymore. And for the people who know anything about me, you might see the title and think, Jaden, cats are literally the #1 natural predator to birds. And to that, I also say, yes, that one's 100% proven fact. So let me back up a bit and explain how we got here, because all the cards in the world were stacked against the idea of me getting a cat. Growing up, I was irrefutably and absolutely allergic to cats. My best friend had like 3 of the things, and every time I would hang out or sleep over at her house, I would be a sneezy, watery-eyed, snotty mess. Can I have some water? Given the fact my brother was also allergic to cats, it was set that we were a dog family. My whole life I went around not giving cats a second thought. I never had anything actually against them, but since I was forced to stay 20 feet away from them or suffer the consequences, I just couldn't get to know them. Plus, as a kid, dogs were always more appealing. They're more likely to be bigger fans of playing and running around, be more approachable with their genetically bred unconditional love, and can overall be more forgiving. Cut to like 2 catless decades for me later, and I'm meeting Jacob for the first time at his place. As we're hanging out in his living room, his cat Fraser comes over and greets me. Fraser is extremely social and vain, so he's always expecting nothing less than a never-ending stream of attention from the people. Even though he's very cute and distinguished, I deployed my typical foolproof plan of don't touch the cat. Fraser realizes he's not getting any attention out of me and sits down nearby on the couch. But a bit later, Jacob's other cat ends up making an appearance. This one's Taylor. She's normally really shy and hides, but does really like women. which I am. Taylor ended up crawling onto me and making herself really comfy in my womanly lap. Jacob, knowing I'm allergic, offered to take her away, but this was actually the first time a cat has ever done something like this to me. I've always been a bit of a cat magnet, if you want to call it that, because I act like they don't exist, which they interpret as me not pushing their boundaries and creating a comfortable environment for them to come up to me on their own terms. But never have I felt like a cat has chosen me like this before. I told Jacob I'm happy to let her stay comfortable on me, and I'll just reap the consequences of my sowing later on. This was my first extremely positive experience with the cat, and I honestly felt really happy and special and wanted to enjoy it. A few hours later, I'm saying my goodbyes, and during the drive back home, I realized I was completely fine. No sneezing, no itchy eyes, straight up nothing. I was so confused and curious. Thus, the start of my little cat experiment began. Every time I went over to Jacob's place, I would let the cats be as social as they wanted with me. If Taylor wanted to sit by me, I'd let her. If Frazier wanted attention, I would pet him. At one point, while we were watching a movie, Taylor literally decided to lay down on my neck, filling every one of my breaths with cat dander and hair. And you know what happened? No reaction, not even a little drip of mucus. Somehow, sometime, I'd grown out of my cat allergy and never noticed. Apparently, every 7 years, people's allergies have the chance to change. Maybe being surrounded by my friends' cats all throughout my childhood could have helped my body get more familiar with them. Either way, I've now unlocked the skill to survive cats. Oh, guys, it was incredible. Now that I'd been freed from my shackles, I immediately started taking time to get to know cats more. Instantly, they felt so much more cute and cool and approachable, and I was really starting to like them more, especially since every time I would hang out at Jacob's place, Taylor would walk over and be around me and purr, and oh, it was amazing to be loved by a cat. So I really like cats now. And after some time, I decided I wanted one too. Jacob and I decided to peruse a local cat rescues website just to see what cats were available. I don't want to get one right away. There's a lot I have going on, but it doesn't hurt to— oh my god, that one! I want that one so bad. It's so cute. What's its name? Tostada? Tostada, my beloved. We have to send in an application. We have to. Hi, my name's Jane. I love this cat. Please let me adopt it. Please. What? You guys know me. I'm weak-willed and impulsive. My first mistake was liking cats to begin with. The rescue reached out a few days later for a cat screening interview to make sure we would be a good fit to be cat parents. After being approved, they told us we could pick any cat we wanted that was in their care. Of course, I asked about Tostada, but we were given the unfortunate news that she had already been adopted. No! We looked at the other cats available on their website, but unfortunately none of them really stood out to me. The rescue ended up inviting us to a little Meet the Cats event they were hosting where we could see all the cats they had up for adoption in person, which was awesome because that was actually the first time I'd ever actually seen and held a kitten before. It was amazing. But as cute and tiny as they all were, there still wasn't one that called to me. I pried Jacob away from the kittens, headed home, and we started waiting. Every day I would check the rescue's cat list to see if any new ones caught my eye. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but waited for the universe to send me my perfect cat nonetheless. One morning I refreshed the page and saw one new kitten added. A tortie they found in some dumpster named Scrabble, with the biggest eyes and forehead I'd seen in my life. Something about this bizarre little creature called to me. I messaged the rescue about Scrabble and they told me she's available, putting me in touch with Scrabble's foster parents. Every day they sent me new little pictures of kitten Scrabble, and every photo I fell more and more in love with her. She seemed so silly and playful, and those eyes. We got on a video call and they told me all about how big of a personality she has. Out of the 5 other kittens they were fostering, she was by far their favorite. The whole time we were talking, Scrabble was flipping around in their arms and looking at the camera with her giant orbs. I left that call knowing I found my cat. I needed to have little kitten Scrabble. Meeting her in person only cemented it. She was shy at first, but after flinging around her worm toy, she immediately started hopping around and being the life of the party. I talked a lot to her foster parents, and they just gushed about how they wish they could keep her since they all loved her so much. Even though the rescue called her Scrabble, obviously that was more of a placeholder name. The foster parents called her Cammy, but neither of those really fit to me. However, I knew one name that I liked. Tostada. Yeah, I stole another kitten's name and pasted it on mine. So what? Big deal! Tostada's a great name. My Tostada's way more of a tostada than the other Tostada anyway. Look at her. I would have left with little Tostada in my arms that moment if I could. But unfortunately, Jacob and I were going out of town for 3 million weeks and had to wait to take her home until after we came back. She was all I could think about the entire time. I was shoving Tostada photos in everyone's face every chance I got. The foster parents were sending Tostada updates every day. I was overflowing with yearning for this cat. She was growing and learning about the world without me. Take me home to my child. Literally, the moment Jacob and I landed, we drove straight from the airport to the foster home to pick her up. I could not wait. We arrived home with +1 Tostada. I couldn't believe it. I have a mammal now. And sorry, other mammal owners, but it's the best mammal in the whole wide universe. Jacob and I spent the entire day playing with her, letting her get used to her new surroundings. She was so cute and so tiny. Here's a video of her eating wet food with a big old chomp. As someone who's owned birds for 7 years at that point, it felt so strange to have a pet that was significantly less fragile and also draws significantly less blood. You mean this thing can't fly up and get hit by the ceiling fan? Insane! I've had Tostada for a while now. She's 2 years old at the time of me posting this, and let me tell you, this thing has become a creature. First of all, eyes, still giant, and she never blinks. Look at this. She was sitting on my desk looking like that long enough for me to notice, get my phone out of my pocket, pull up the camera app, put the camera in her face, and take a photo. And here's...
Hi, I'm checking in. Oh my gosh, I'm a huge fan. Oh, thank you. I love Skinny Pop.
Get my phone out of my pocket, pull up the camera app, put the camera in her face, and take a photo. And here's like 4 more. She is also not that smart. I'm sure you could deduce that by how she looks, but this thing has a single brain cell, and it's just another version of herself up there with a joystick. Jacob and I are fully convinced she can only form a few thoughts a day, and only in single word nouns. Evidently, Tostada is also very scared of everything, always has been. Loud noises, quiet noises, no noises, movement of any kind. Even Jacob, a person she's been around all her little life post-dumpster. There's been times where he'll be at his desk, moves his chair just a smidge, and she's darting out of the room. One time we were trying to explain to some friends how skittish she genuinely can be, and demonstrated it by grabbing a toy literally in front of her, raising it up a bit, lightly dropping it on the floor, still in front of her, and she bolted. You know how cats are genetically built to be good at balancing? Well, Tostada can't even do that. She trips and falls and misplaces her feet all the time. On multiple occasions, she has tried to walk across my L-shaped desk and just missed and fell down. That's like the one thing that makes a cat, and nope, doesn't hit the mark there either. She's gotten better, but as a kitten, Tostada couldn't even jump. After I built her first cat tower, I watched as she attempted to jump up to the 2nd level, not quite make it, and had to slam her arms down on the thing to hoist herself up like she was mountain climbing. But oh, is she the sweetest little thing. When I got a cat, I was expecting it to want its own space, come around when it wants, you know, general cat things. But this creature follows me from room to room with those high beams of hers. She sits on my lap while I'm at my computer, lays on my giant Pokemon plushes, mostly just looks up at me from the floor and just stares. When I'm sleeping, she'll just crawl into bed and tuck herself up right next to me. Look at all these photos of her straight up on me when I'm sleeping. Don't look too close so I don't have makeup on. Bedtime is sacred to her. She loves bedtime. If I'm working late, Tostada will come into my office around 9 or 10 p.m., aka past Tostada bedtime, and just start crying, scratching on my chair, rolling around on the floor. It's pitiful. And if I still don't move after that, she'll go into the bedroom and drag over her string toy she always plays with. It's just so sad and pathetic. I always play string with her when she brings it over though, don't don't worry. But lately, she's picked up another routine habit, which is pats. Not all cats like the pats, but Tostada lives off them. It's when you just slap a cat's butt and it looks like you're hurting them, but they actually love it. However, Tostada's really particular about pats. First of all, I'm the only one allowed to give her pats. Jacob has tried, and she runs away scared and offended every single time. Second, she has to receive pats on a specific spot on the floor of the closet. If I try to give her pats in like my office, she bolts to her floor spot, staring at me to continue them over there. Also, she begs to be pat every single night. Like clockwork, she'll sit like a gargoyle in front of the closet and cry pitifully until I come over there. Now, when I finally come over for pats, she'll flop on the floor and start horizontally rock climbing her way across the floor with her claws and tangle herself up in the Ethernet cables while I keep up the pats. You think I'm joking, but I'm very much not. This is the only way she accepts pats, and I have to give them to her every night or else she's miserable. Tostada's world is so small. She's really just around me, Jacob, Taylor, and Frasier, but she loves her simple family so much. When Kitten Tostada first met Frasier, she was terrified of him. She'd been around other adult cats before, but she'd never seen a flat cat in her life, and she was mortified. Of course, she's since warmed up to him, and they play together and hang out all the time. They're best friends. But Tostada loves Taylor. Always has. She looks up to Taylor like a little baby sister admiring her cool, awesome older sibling. Unfortunately, Taylor hates it. They literally have a SpongeBob Squidward type of sibling relationship, and Tostada is so oblivious to it. Taylor has annoyingly swatted at Tostada so many times just for existing around her that Tostada now thinks it's a fun little game they play and will start chasing and swatting back at Taylor happily, not understanding cat social cues. Of course, never in a way that's too far, but just enough to get on Taylor's nerves even more. Between the three of them, they all have such different little personalities and relationships to each other. It's made our lives so much more entertaining. And to anyone concerned about the birds, don't worry. I've got Ari and Tofu very separated from the cats. They're safe in their own blocked off room connected by a double door system that ensures no possible interaction between bird and cat. If anyone is thinking about getting cats and birds as pets, it is possible, but just make sure the two are very separate, especially if you have smaller birds like conures or budgies. I'm sure there's people out there that have trained their cats to be fine around a pet bird, but to me, all it takes is one accident or attack for you to just not have a bird anymore. Plus, having the two of them takes a huge amount of time and commitment. I've said it before and I'll say it forever. I love my birds to death, but they do not make good pets for the very large majority of people. In terms of allergies, I do think I was originally still a little bit allergic to Tostada, ironically. When I first got her, I was sneezy and sniffling. Nothing allergy pills couldn't fix, and it never was as bad as my original cat allergy, but I think I've been growing out of that one too, because nowadays I don't have any reaction to her at all. Bodies are a mystery. I am building my immunity to everything. Next up is rat poison. I didn't think I would make a video talking about this thing, but Tostada's just got such a funny little personality and has become such a big part of my life. She may be the description of autism, but I love her more than the world itself, and I know I'm the center of her little life too. I don't even see her as a cat. She's just a little creature that follows me around looking weird, but I love it, and I'm so glad I grew out of my cat allergy just so I can have her. It really has been so different owning a cat, mainly because I know Tostada won't just bite me at any given chance, unlike some avian creatures.
Really go to the worlds you love at Universal Fan Fest nights like Star Trek, Back to the Future, Dungeons & Dragons, One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, and more. All in one place every event night at Universal Fan Fest nights. Select nights starting April 25th at Universal Studios Hollywood.
I think we all know the gist of what a speedrun is. Play game fast. But there's so much more that goes into it than what's on the surface. People spend hundreds of hours practicing games, finding optimal routes, discovering the most precise glitches that can save from minutes to just a few frames, which if you don't know is basically risking your entire run just for a few milliseconds of time save. I've come to love speedruns, watching them at least. Something about them is really cool to me, and I think the community is really cool. It's all cool. I've been lurking and watching various speedrunners for a decent amount of time, and I decided that I wanted to do a speedrun. Now, I don't really have the time to set aside hundreds of hours to hone my skill on whatever game I want, so I decided I had to do a blind speedrun where I just play it for the first time and try my best. I spent a few days racking my brain on what game I'd like to run. I like Pokemon. Maybe I could run a Pokemon game, but that's a lot of researching and memorizing and luck. I could try a Mario game. It's a popular category, but I don't know if it's for me. Then it hit me. The perfect game. Of course! Why hadn't I thought of it sooner? I ran to speedrun.com to check if anyone has run it yet. No one. None. I'm gonna be the first person in the world to speedrun Cooking Mama 2 Dinner with Friends. That I know of. Why did I choose Cooking Mama? Because, dude, Cooking Mama is awesome. If you haven't played, it's a DS game where you follow steps to make food and impress Mama. The better you do, the better score you get. Plus, I'm at an advantage when it comes to preparing food. I've seen Food Wars. I know all the techniques and secrets. If you're under 18, don't look it up. Why did I choose the second game and not the original? That's the one I bought. Duh. I used to play Cooking Mama all the time as a kid with my friend Kate. I always thought Mama's English was really funny.
Great! You gave it your best effort!
I still love it. We even had this system where if we kept failing at a recipe, we'd have to change chairs because that one had bad luck. Obviously. I don't have that luxury this time because I have to stay by the computer, so I'll have to come up with a better strategy. Also, extra movements lose time. I need to be efficient here. Anyway, I wanted to have some sort of challenge, so I decided to add some rules to my run. 1, I have to fully complete the main game mode Cook with Mama. 2, I have to receive a gold medal on every single recipe. That means I can't make a mistake. Ever. Can't burn a single onion, can't accidentally pour the rice into the sink, can't smack my hand while pounding mochi. If I do, the whole recipe needs to be redone. 3, that's it. Do it fast, I guess. The first recipe is pizza, and I was off to a pretty good start. Obviously, it's a speed run, so I didn't have time to read the little description on what to do each step, but for the most part, I was able to use my massive IQ and big, strong brain to decode the objectives in split seconds. Except in the last step where I didn't know how to work the oven and failed immediately. Again, off to a great start. After deciphering how the oven worked, I was moving on quickly. Peanut butter, poke the peanuts, done. Oops. Recover, adapt, overcome. Done. Sea bream carpaccio. Exfoliate the fish, chopping, restart. Choose smaller knife, easy peasy. Corn soup. Ew. Bald the corn, boil, strain. Oh, come on! Not all the corn came out. Alright, admittedly, I was making a lot of mistakes at the beginning. I was nervous because it was my first speed run and I didn't know what I had to do most of the time and was generally panicking. But then I remembered that no Cooking Mama 2 speedruns exist yet, so that means I'm on world record pace, and that made me feel better. One mechanic I had to learn the hard way was, when it comes to the oven, choose the low heat. The first attempt, I decided to go with the medium heat to go a little bit faster. And look at this! Oh no! What was that? That was a speedrun in itself. Burn the apple pie as quick as possible. You know how there's separate categories in speedruns? Mario Odyssey has the one where you take Mario's shirt off as fast as possible called nipple percent. I want one for Cooking Mama 2 called burnt apple pie percent, where you just burn the apple pie as quickly as possible. Anyway, I redid the pie and was moving on. Bonk, ill rice bowl. We're about an hour in at this point. I had my friends in a Discord call so they can help me take notes so I didn't have to rewatch all the footage again for the script, and they decided to look up how many recipes there actually were in the game. I didn't know because I wanted to go in completely blind. And you know what they discovered? There are a total of 80 recipes in this game. An hour in, I was on recipe 8. Which would be impressive in real life, but not here. So either we were gonna pull a Cooking Mama all-nighter, or I had to start picking up the pace. Sorry, Shrimp, this is gonna get violent. It wasn't perfect, and I was still making some mistakes, but I started getting into the zone. It helped that I was starting to get familiar with the mechanics, and actually know what the game wanted me to do for most of the steps now. Waffles, chili dog, meatloaf, lobster. I was one-shotting all of them. I even put 2 mama flags on the lobster, which was a bit risky, but you know me, I live for the danger.
I almost forgot to put the lobster on.
Let me pause and tell you a story of my childhood. I already mentioned my love for Cooking Mama as a kid. Even 12 years ago, I set myself the goal of getting gold in all the recipes. But one haunting memory I have of this game was my struggle against the Mama Rice Cracker. All the steps are relatively simple, but at the end you have to stamp all 18 crackers with a Mama stamp. That's what makes the Mama Rice Cracker the Mama Rice Cracker. But as a kid, my DS was old and I dropped it a few times, which messed up the calibration on my screen in a way I couldn't fix. So that meant at the very end of the recipe, it was extremely hard for me to stamp the stamp in the exact spot that Mama wanted. I spent weeks, I'm not joking, trying to get the gold on the Mama Rice Cracker. It was the last one I needed and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I'm pretty sure I was eventually able to pass, but let's just say I didn't for the sake of drama. Either way, I was having PTSD. I was going through all the steps, washing the rice, putting the rice in the little hole, mochi pounding the rice scoop, and then it appeared. The screen that caused the most pain a video game could to a 10-year-old. I was slowly making my way down the line. Everything was going well. And then all of a sudden, on the 10th cracker, I accidentally tapped the screen when I was lining up my pen, causing me to not brand the cracker enough. I'm not one to believe in spiritualism or star signs or Destiny's Child, whatever that stuff is. But that moment in particular made me question if it was all real and my only fate is to eternally fail the last step of the Mama Rice Cracker recipe until I inevitably die an unaccomplished old man that makes ugly rice crackers. I did it right the next time, but that would have been unfortunate, right? With the Mama Rice Cracker conquered, now nothing was in my way, and I was making my way through the rest of the recipes. At the 2-hour 37-minute mark, 27 recipes in, Ari got out of his cage and was running around the room, so I had to spend precious time getting him back under control. That was a loss of 2 minutes right there. Then I missliced the raviolis, so I'm blaming all of that misfortune on Ari. I actually struggled a lot on the ravioli recipe. The pasta is really hard to cut because you have to time the slice with the line, but since I was so focused on when to cut, a lot of the time I would deviate from the actual line to cut from and mess up. Then when I was able to get past that stage, for some reason the mic had trouble hearing me blow, so even though I was doing what I was supposed to, I'd fail anyway.
Seamlessly manage your books and file taxes all within QuickBooks. Sign up today and get 50% off.
Overall, I had to redo the ravioli recipe 6 times, and I spent 11 minutes on it. Not great. Thanks, Ari. But after that, I was able to one-shot both the cake and the spring rolls. And can we talk about how the ice cream recipe literally just makes you scoop out store-bought ice cream and put sprinkles on it? That's been my favorite recipe so far. Skipping forward a bit, let's talk about the mango pudding. This was ravioli part 2. The first step I had trouble with was memorizing the order of the ingredients. It was a 6-part Simon Says memory game, and my big smooth brain can only handle one number at a time before the concept of object permanence leaves my body. I inevitably got a lucky pattern that was easy to remember, and after a few more steps, in the end I had to draw a line at a specific speed that would remove the pudding cleanly. Too slow and it wouldn't come out, too fast and it just... For the life of me, I couldn't get the pacing right 3 consecutive times in a row. And with the combined difficulty of that, along with the memorizing, I spent another 10 minutes trying to get it right and still failing. My confidence was shattered and I had to take a mental health break. I'll be back for you, mango pudding. I'll come back stronger, and I'll cook you so well I'll become the mama. I was in shambles from the pudding, but was able to move on and started getting back into a rhythm. All these foods, I was knocking them out one by one. I will note that I struggled with popcorn because I thought there was gonna be some sort of indicator or something on when to open the lid, so I just sat there until I realized I burnt it all.
Oh wait.
So I was like, oh, okay, I'll open it when I hear the popping sounds. And then I opened it with like 5 popcorns. But it's okay, I was able to figure it out. Overall, the rest of the run went on without any major problems. I was able to finish up the rest of the recipes, and at the 6-hour, 38-minute mark, I only had 2 recipes left. The bento box, and of course, the mango pudding. Time is ticking. We're in the end game now. Also, my Discord friends were ready to never talk to me again. I thought I could just get the bento box over with quickly because it's like, you just put food in box, right? Well, actually, I didn't realize I had to include food from all the categories Mama gave me or something, so I failed it like 3 times and was on the brink of insanity trying to figure out what Mama wanted from me. The food is in the box, Mama. What's what a bento box is? Food in box. What else do you need? Blood? A blood sacrifice? It didn't say anywhere in the instructions that I should have put more variety in there. Not that I was reading the instructions anyway. I still, right now, don't know what Mama wanted, but at least I finally got the gold after 4 minutes. That meant I only had 1 last recipe. 79 were completed. The mango pudding was the only thing standing between me and the first Cooking Mama 2 Dinner with Friends world record. I clicked it nervously, but I climbed my mountain. I trained with Mama, and I've come back a new chef. Peeling, slicing, blending, I was quicker than ever. There it was. The memorizing. I was doing well until... No! I restarted. I was sweaty and shaking. My brain was shutting down. My eyes had only been seeing Cooking Mama for the past 6 hours and 45 minutes. Every breath was Cooking Mama. Every neuron in my skull was Cooking Mama. Every atom in the universe at that moment was Cooking Mama. But my next attempt, oh my god, oh Jesus, is this the one? I nervously went through the rest of the recipe until I arrived at the last step. It's been about 3 hours and 15 minutes since I practiced removing the pudding from the mold, and to be honest, I don't remember the removal strats. First one, second one. Let's go! I got all the puddings out flawlessly. I waited until the results to confirm it. Boom! 100 points on the mango pudding. Stop the timer. I did it. At long last, all 80 recipes in Cooking Mama 2 gold. In 6 hours, 47 minutes, and 27 seconds. There might be some room for improvement there. Overall, I had a really fun time with the speedrun. It's not even close to a good run, and the time can easily be halved, but I still pride myself in knowing I was the first one to complete and document the Cooking Mama 2 all gold %. And also burnt apple pie %. If there's any speedrunners out there wanting to try and take my crown, I'll share some speed strats I thought of during the run. If you complete the steps too quickly, you get a bonus, and at the end of the recipe, if you get 5 bonuses, you receive a gift that you can't reject or skip, which loses a lot of time. You're smothering me, Mama. So if you can get no bonuses within the entire game, you'd be saving a lot of time. Another tip is, if you're gonna mess up the recipe, don't mess up the last step, because if you do, you have to wait through Mama giving you your score and clapping for you and being like, yeah, it's almost perfect. And the whole time you're like, yes, Mama, I know it's not perfect. I dropped an egg. And then she gives you like 3 presents in a row because you got too many bonuses. And you're just screeching at her to shut up the whole time. I didn't discover any glitches that would save time, unfortunately. I don't know what a Cooking Mama glitch would look like, but it doesn't sound pleasant. But it doesn't matter, because as of this moment right here, I'm the one with the Cooking Mama 2 Dinner with Friends world record. Guess I finally did something with my life after all. Anyway, thanks for watching my first attempt at a speedrun. I think, in hindsight, I should have chosen a game that could have been done in a few less hours, because I feel like I aged 20 years after this. But you live and learn.
I wanted to submit my run to speedrun.com, but since no one has run the game yet, I need to submit a request to add Cooking Mama 2 Dinner with Friends. But I only made my account last night, and to make a request, I need to have had my account for 7 days. So I'll submit it in 7 days. But it's not gonna be interesting. I didn't record my audio with it. It's just 6 hours of Cooking Mama gameplay. Also, we're working to drop some new merch in the shop really soon. I don't know if it's on the site yet, but it's coming. And we've got some real fun stuff in the works. Alright, that's it. See you later.
There is a goddess in all of us, strong as a lioness. Embrace the power within. Burberry Goddess.
Choose to lean into it. Every Mazda is engineered to give you effortless control.
I wake up.
As you know, most games are pretty flexible in terms of getting to go as fast, or slow if you're lame, as you want. And honestly, it's pretty hard to limit that from players. Maybe you could turn the main character into an old man who has trouble walking or something, but that's not fun. At least in theory, I don't know. But you know the one video game genre that forces everyone to play at the same pace? Rhythm games. Rhythm Heaven is one of my favorite games, especially in the rhythm category. I played it constantly growing up, and I wanted to come up with some dumb excuse to play it for a video. So today I'm speedrunning a rhythm game. How does that work? In actuality, I have no idea, but this is what I laid out for myself. As the video game masochist I am, I wanted to make sure I had some sort of challenge capable of driving me to the brink of insanity, so I'm gonna be running the all medals category, which means I only have a certain amount of mess ups per minigame before I fall from award-winning gaming greatness into low-life scum. And since I'm not running a game no one else has run before, I have some competition for the first time. There's a decent amount of runs already submitted, so to compete with them, I need to make sure I get first try medals throughout the entire game, every time, all 50. I need to play 50 rhythm games in a row without messing up. I thought about going for an all perfects run, and then I did a test play to see how hard it would have been, and I was like, no, this would actually make me want to stop breathing. So here we go. This is my experience speedrunning the 14-year-old rhythm game, Rhythm Heaven Fever. For my first run, I just wanted to play through the whole game to simply see how it would go. You know, learn what I needed to practice, get my pacing. And you know what? It was kind of an insane first try. I only messed up on 2 games in the entire run. Figure Fighter 2, which is this game where you're a puny little shrimp man who gets inflated to punch a punching bag in front of a crowd of a couple hundred people. And Remix 10. Of course. If you've played Rhythm Heaven Fever, you know about Remix 10. The game organizes all the mini-games into columns, and after you play 4 of them, there's a remix that's like a medley of the whole column. It's genuinely cool, but for the last remix, it's a nearly 4-minute game of every single mini-game you've played up until that point. Like I said, very cool, but also terrifying from a speedrun perspective. Anyway, besides getting okays in 2 mini-games, that means I was perfectly prepared for all the others, and I was shocked. That's not half bad. In fact, that's 96% not half bad. I even started thinking to myself, oh man, if I get this run faster than anticipated, maybe I can't even make a video for it. I was worried I would get it like attempt 2 and then not know what to talk about. Which, no, I do have a video for it. As you can see, I went into attempt 2 with a very heightened sense of confidence, ready to complete my run second try, and I immediately missed the first beat. Up!
Jade.
So that run's dead. Attempt 3 was going alright, making a few more mistakes than normal, but was still doing well enough to keep getting medals. Then I got to Dunk Donk, which I hate. I hate it, and it's the worst one. You're this middle thing and have to dunk against the other things to make this blimp go fast or something. Honestly, the whole concept of this one is beyond me, but I was just barely missing the marks, and when I say barely, I mean I was still donking against them, but in a way that's like, I definitely didn't dunk perfectly. A few other games have this visual feature, and throughout the run, I was telling my friends Jordan and Kelsey, who were helping me take notes and keeping me company, and saying, I have no idea if that means I completely messed up or if it's a, that was a close dunk, but we'll give it to you type of thing. And then after the game ended, I need to like look up if that's bad or not. It is bad.
Apparently it's bad, Baby Jim.
Alright, well, run's dead. Well, alright, I guess I got that answer. I started another run after that and messed up at the very beginning before I could even do anything. The timer starts after choosing your new file and clicking yes when asked to continue. And then immediately after that, there's a very long tutorial. But speedrunning strat, you can actually skip that pesky little tutorial by after clicking yes, immediately clicking the home button and restarting the game. See, this run is cool. It's got cool skips and stuff. Anyway, I missed the reset button. It's petty and not a big deal, but I restarted it anyway because why would I leave in an extra half second of time loss like that? My mental game for that run was already irretrievable. Attempt 5 was on its way until I messed up too much on Flock Step, the game where you're a bird within a group of other birds all migrating and walking at the same time. I got trampled. So yeah, it felt like I was only doing worse and worse. The first run was almost perfect immediately, and now it felt like I was losing my mojo. Why did I have to jinx it? Why did I have to think I was gonna be too good for this challenge? But then I got on this run. A run where I was doing better than I ever had before. Remix 1, Remix 2, Remix 3, I was getting perfects. Maybe the occasional 1 or 2 mistakes, but that was it. I was in it. The zone. Not that it mattered I was getting perfect, it still gives me the same normal medal, but I was doing well, alright? And it was an overall calm feeling too. I didn't mention it, but my very first run, I was on the verge of passing out or something. My anxiety was through the roof. I knew it didn't even matter, but the entire run I was having to take deep breaths and tell myself to calm down and stuff. My hands were shaking, but after a few runs, my speedrunning anxiety had disappeared and I was just calm and focused. Until I got to the end game. Then it came flowing back and it felt like my heart rate was so high I should have stopped immediately and had someone drive me to urgent care. We need a doctor! She was trying to speedrun Rhythm Heaven! Isn't that a rhythm game? I started up Samurai Slice 2, which I was extremely worried about because it was the second time I'd gotten this far since the first run. I didn't mention it, but the actual reason I lost my second attempt was because of this game. So now there's trauma there. Jordan and Kelsey stayed silent so I could have maximum focus, and as I started getting into it, Jacob joined the call. Jacob, you're a very great friend, and I was very happy you joined, but oh my goodness, I was sweating bullets.
Hello.
Hello.
How's rhythming?
It's going good so far.
Jaden's in focus mode.
I assumed as much. How far is this?
I think we're about halfway.
We just finished Remix 7.
Nah, we're about 3%.
Oh, nice. How have you guys been?
Good.
I came in at a good time.
Oh, phew. I was sweating so hard. Phew! Alright, moving on. Honestly, still, I was doing really well. It wasn't until Love Rap 2 that I even hit my first 4 mistakes in one game. Very frightening, but I still squeaked by. Side note, I have no idea the technicalities of how many mess-ups I'm given per game. I was just hoping and praying the entire run. Then it was time. I was at Figure Fighter 2 again, the game that officially ended my first run. I practiced it religiously after that, desperately trying to assure I would never fail at it ever again. This game is deep into the run too. It's like one of the last 5 in the entire game, so losing at that one did sting quite a bit the first time. After lots of nervous pep talk to myself, I went into it. And you know what happened? I knocked it out of the park. From 5 mistakes that cost me the run, all the way down to 1. I get to continue on. Every minigame onwards was just exponentially heightening my anxiety further. I was doing really well, but that's what was terrifying me. I didn't know when the mistakes were just gonna hit, and it felt like any second I could kill the run. Because I could. I'm being completely honest, unfortunately, when I say this was probably the worst nervous anxiety I've ever felt in my entire life. A Rhythm Heaven fever speedrun. I was taking deep breaths every chance I could. It felt like I had chills. I would have liked to pause and calm myself down, maybe get a cold towel, but I couldn't because, you know, it's a speedrun. I was saying things like, I can't handle this. Oh no, I can't. My chest hurts. I feel like my ribs are gonna fall out of me. Okay. More deep breaths. Some water maybe. I hate this feeling. I don't want to live with this feeling any longer.
Only 5 left.
Maybe I was starting to hallucinate or something, but it felt like I was literally having nervous wreck heart palpitations. Both scenarios are equally likely, but I was somehow keeping it together on the outside and made it to the grand finale. Remix 10. This was also the game I practiced the most.
Everyone wants to be the Cadbury Bunny, because only...
This was also the game I practiced the most, next to Figure Fighter 2, so I was technically prepared, but not mentally. I was falling apart mentally, crumbling if you will, but I had no time to try and calm down. That would be time loss, of course, so without hesitation, I had to start it. All things considered, even though I couldn't hear the game over the sound of my heartbeat, I was doing pretty decently, but then the first mistake hit. I don't technically know how many mistakes that counts for, but it's okay. It's assumedly the first one. Then it happens again moments later. This is what I was talking about earlier when I don't know if that counts as an actual mistake or not. Can I look it up? Does the internet have the answer? I don't know, maybe, probably, but I'm in too deep to check at this point, so I'm not going to. The run continues. It happens again. I wasn't ready for the switch to the tap dancers and missed my cue. They literally harassed me in-game about it. It's all slowly falling apart now. I don't think I can make any more mistakes. Do I know for sure? Not at all, but that's what was filling my head at this point. I continue, and... Dear God, no. I missed 3 of the little dots. I'm sure it's over now. I don't know how many technical mistakes I've made at this point, but it just feels like too many. I'm completely in the dark now if I'm even en route to pass or not. I will add in my Remix 10 practice, at the very end there's a little credits minigame, you know, like the ones I skipped, where you tap A on beat to make the little mascot guy fly in the air. There's one part I just couldn't get at all, and that was the double tap where he does like this little roll into a jump. There wasn't a single time in training that I could get that part, and always missed it, and when I needed it most, did I get it in the run? No. That's it. I don't know how many mistakes that was, but it was too many. My heart sank, dude. All that work just to fail at the very end. All that anxiety I'm gonna have to relive. I just didn't know if I could handle it. Like, physically. I wasn't joking about the heart palpitations / hallucinations. All I could do was sit there at the foot of Rhythm God and wait for my judgment. I don't know. I don't know about that one. I genuinely don't know. This one's be like, careful. No, don't say it, don't say it. Oh my God! I did it!
1 minute, or
that,
1 hour and 53 minutes.
That was so stressful.
Holy
oh my! I don't know how, but I did it. I finished the run. I was free. I officially played all the Rhythm Heaven Fever minigames and didn't fail at earning a medal first try on any of them at all. 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 1 second. That's my final score. How does that compare to the world record? Honestly, not even close. I don't really know how they saved so much time. My main guess is that playing on the Wii is much faster in terms of loading time. I was playing on a Wii U, and that could affect how fast everything loads. I don't know. But also, there's no way I'm gonna play on a Wii for YouTube. Do you know how crunchy that would make this footage? I'd rather take the time loss bullet so I don't have to cross my eyes just to rewatch my footage. So how does my run compare to the people who did the same run on the Wii U? Second best. And you know what? I'll take it. I have no idea how this guy ended up saving like 10 seconds, but being the second best Wii U Rhythm Heaven Fever All Medals runner is fine with me. I am settling and I am proud. Will I probably lose this record hours after this video goes up? Absolutely, but that's just how it goes. People message me for weeks, months after my Cooking Mama 2 speedrun video being like, Jaden, you're not the world record holder anymore. And it's like, yeah, I know. Thanks for rubbing it in. I'm trying to cope over here. Nah, I'm kidding. I'm actually really happy people started running Cooking Mama, especially the burnt pie %. I felt honored in a really strange way. Anyway, after trying my hand in speedrunning a game that has a semi-active, honestly at the moment kind of dead, running base, I now realize speedrunning is terrifying, especially if content is on the line. I'd probably like it more if I did it for fun in my free time, but yeah, oh well. I'm happy I finished my run. Despite everything, I had a great time. And it just feels good knowing I'm half decent at Rhythm Heaven now. A skill that will be very useful absolutely never.
I really still can't believe I almost had a panic attack because I was speedrunning Rhythm Heaven, but hey, just put it on the resume, I guess. Sorry the videos have been coming out more sporadic in terms of frequency. Honestly, the reason why is because they're just longer in general, which takes a bunch more time to animate. But they're fun. I like the videos. I think they're fun. Maybe if I just stock up on a bunch of videos for like 6 months, I can post regularly like a normal content creator for like a month, and we can all pretend it's normal and awesome. Just an idea, I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I appreciate any and all support you guys have for me. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. I know absolutely nothing about Digimon. Pokemon is my entire life, so why would I need to branch out? Well, I happen to be a very open-minded person, and the only way to prove that is to play a Digimon game for the first time. I wanted to see if, putting all my bias aside, I could bridge the gap between the two, and they could live together in harmony in my tiny little brain hobby drawer. So thus began my journey on finding the perfect Digimon game to start out with. At first, I didn't think that would be a difficult feat. Every community kinda has the general agreed consensus on what media is best to consume as a newcomer, right? All it takes is a quick Google search, I play what the internet people tell me, and now I'm a Digimoner. Well, apparently not here. I've come to realize that it's a bit complicated for them. Everywhere I looked, there were threads upon threads of people trying to agree on what Digimon game is even good in the first place. Pretty much every comment I read said something along the lines of, "This game is pretty good, yeah, except for these things," or "This game is great, if you can look past these extremely annoying mechanics." Every time I thought I had a lead on a game, I would look further into it and realize a lot of people actually had a lot of complaining to do. And it wasn't even angry complaining, it seemed like I've walked in on a fandom that has just been hurt over and over, and they're really trying to hang on to something and believe in the good of the franchise, but they've just been put through a lot. You know, kind of like the Sonic fandom. I've never had to do so much research just to find a single game in a franchise that people can just all agree is good. People were talking about how they like Digimon World, but apparently it's like a tedious and frustrating Tamagotchi game where you just start over if they die. Digimon World 2 is apparently a dungeon crawler, but extremely grindy and complicated, and I read a lot of people complaining about it just being bland. People said Digimon World 3 is a typical RPG, but the battles get tiring and annoying, lots of backtracking and never feeling like you get anywhere. Digimon World 4, Digimon World Championship, the list goes on and on. Con after con. I spent multiple research sessions searching, even opted for a last-ditch effort by asking Twitter. Everyone was saying different things. No one seemed to be able to agree that there was just one game that was overall good and easy to start with. And Digimon fandom, if there truly is a good game out there, you guys need to start pitching the franchise better. You made this difficult. I will say it seemed like the majority of people enjoyed Digimon Cyber Sleuth, but the thing is, that's not really the type of game I wanted to play for the channel. It looks like it's got more of a Persona 5 vibe that focuses more on the story and characters and stuff. That's just what I've read, I don't know. Either way, it wasn't the fit for what I'm looking for. I'm sure I would love it as a casual playthrough, but it just didn't hit my content checklist. All this research led me to a game I decided to settle on. Digimon World Dawn. It didn't seem perfect, I saw complaints with it, but I thought, you know, it seemed like the same amount of complaints other Digimon games were getting, and there were enough people talking positively about it. I figured I could look past the criticisms, maybe even if I was aware of them beforehand, they wouldn't bother me too much. And plus, I thought it looked nice. I like the pixel art, and I'm a sucker for good pixel art. So after all that, all the research, knowing the flaws beforehand, having a positive mental attitude, I settled on a good enough Digimon game, right? Something at least playable, right? As much as I want to say yes, this was one of, if not the most miserable video game experiences I've ever forced myself to go through. And that isn't even as a biased Pokemon player, that's as an enjoyer of fun. I was aware of Digimon World Dawn's criticisms, I knew what I was getting myself into, yet despite all the warnings, all the positive outlooks, all of the manifesting to be able to frolic hand in hand with both the Digimon and Pokemon franchises together in a beautiful field of 1,000 sunflowers, It was just awful. It started out lighthearted. I tried to put my name in and realized they only allow 5 characters for the main character's name. So I'm Jaden. Before any gameplay, I'm given 4 different packs of 3 Digimon. The Balance Pack, Attack Pack, Speed Pack, and the Japanese Pack. And honestly, I was shocked to see how huge and powerful they all looked. Look at these big men! Pokemon starters don't look like this. This is awesome! I chose the Attack Pack because the big worm guy was my favorite, and then the game forces me to nickname all my Digimon. It's not an option, and if I try to name them their original Digimon names, I can't, because they don't give me enough characters. Again, out of everything I read about this game, this is hilariously not mentioned in anyone's criticism list. I don't know if it's a Digimon thing, or I don't know. So here I, Jaden, am with my Charmon, Tony Tiger, and Big Worm. I'm not even given a chance to breathe before I'm thrown into this Digimon gang tournament, having to fight for my Digimon and friends' lives and glory in an environment I'm not even sure how to comprehend. Like, first of all, where are we? This sure doesn't look like the States. Or Japan, I think. Also, what is a Digimon? I win by figuring it out, kind of, not really. Still don't know what's going on. And then win a few more times before the tournament is over and our team or gang or something Light Fang is the winner. Yay, Jaden! You won the tournament for us! What's going on? Oh my god, what the f is that? In a complete twist in story direction, a genuinely terrifying virus of death spawns and starts turning all the Digimon into Digi-Eggs, including mine. I checked my guys, and Charmon is the same. Tony Tiger is a bit smaller, but Big Worm is a dinosaur now. He's not a big worm anymore. Now his cleverly tailored nickname doesn't make any sense. How was I supposed to know I was getting fully grown Digi-Guys, and they were gonna turn them back to small Digi-Guys again, and Big Worm starts off as a lizard? That's like the opposite of how evolution works. I knew I didn't know anything about Digimon, but after the past 5 minutes, I've realized I am completely out of my element. I go up and fight the horrific demon virus that I'm IRL scared of, and despite still not knowing what the hell I'm doing, I end up winning, even with my little Digibabies. The virus deuces out, and the head of the Light Fang clan, this Blair guy, that's his name's Blair, is like, this is so weird. Go climb a mountain and look around or something, I guess. I'm sent out to look for virus clues at Login Mountain and run into my Light Fang friend, Kenpa, who's like, I don't know what happened. We got here and all the wild Digimon started attacking me and the other members. They left me behind to be mauled with no escape equipment. I'm fine now, but I think I'm just gonna go back to the city. She does that, and I start traversing the mountain. And this is where I experience my first complaint that everyone was talking about in this game. All the dungeons and areas and stuff are mazes. They're all mazes with absolutely bonkers wild Digimon encounter rates. You don't have a mini-map to know where you're going or where you even are at any point of the dungeon. And there's no item to avoid the random encounters. Basically, I am realizing this is like playing a Pokemon game, but the whole game is a maze. You never know where you are because maps don't exist. Everything is wild grass, and there's no repels. I think I chose the wrong game. I end up stumbling my way to the top of the mountain. At least I think it's the top. I have no idea where I am, never will. And the other 2 guys who left a defenseless little girl to be roasted over a Digifire are getting beat up by a Digi-Eagle. I knock the bird in the head hard enough to make him come to his senses, and he apologizes for being mean, which is more than I expected, to be fair. And the guys are saved. By the way, I didn't know that Digimon spoke. I didn't know that they spoke to the people and talked and interacted. It's weird to me, and I never quite got over it. We return to the city and everyone's like, great job, Jaden, and then suddenly I'm left alone with absolutely no idea what to do or how to continue progressing. I'm trying to figure out if I have to, like, talk to someone or walk into the right room and someone's like, Jaden, we're all being traumatically and irreversibly turned into Digi-Eggs over here, or something, I don't know. And I do want to make sure you guys know that even the main hub is a maze. The amount of time I spent trying to figure out where I even am in the supposed safe space of the city overworld.
Real dairy, 50 calories. Introducing Milk 50 by Dairy Pure. Welcome back to milk.
was pure comedy and frustration. Why is everything in this game perfectly designed to try and make me never open my DS ever again? I am just wandering around, walking in what I am 60% sure is a circle, left in the dark on what actions I need to take to keep playing a game I no longer want to play. I look it up and figure out that if I want to progress the story, I need to earn it. I have to walk into this building, talk to the digi-clerks, and complete multiple useless side quests that have nothing to do with anything to unlock another chunk of the main game. And let's not forget, all the dungeons are mazes. I said that already, but I want to reiterate. I have to go through mazes, sometimes multiple times, to unlock the important maze. But only for a little bit, after I earn just a biscuit, just a crumb of that sweet, sweet story nectar. I'm humbled yet again by being told to go play more errand boy in more pointless mazes as the cycle continues. Surely this game is not serious. Surely this game didn't get an overall average to decent rating on multiple game review sites. Surely the people who said this game was pretty good, all things considered, were secret enemies hoping to pull innocent victims into their dark, dark digiweb, looking to either break the weak or torture the strong. What is going on? Am I the only one who thinks this game was meant to be given to hostages to torture information out of them? I'm 3 hours in and I'm straight up ready to spill my mother's maiden name. And I still don't even know how to play the thing or what a Digimon is, because no, I do not want to read a Bible's worth of tutorials. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be the first person to use a Nintendo DS to kill a man. Let me cut this whole show short and just tell you the entire non-fluff plot of the game. Evil Fountain of Youth of Death virus turns all the Digimon into Digi-Eggs. Lightfang Clan thinks Night Crow Clan is behind it because their chief is acting strange. Night Crow Clan thinks Lightfang Clan is behind it because their chief is acting strange. The two realize neither of them are behind it because they've been mind controlled to act strange. They find out there's an evil Digimon virus thing behind it all. Jaden beats it up, it fades away, and credits roll immediately. Bruh. How long did it take me to experience that story? 15 in-game hours. And I was cheating. I was using speed up and EXP codes and guides and ibuprofen. That time could have easily tripled if I was being a good little squeaky clean angel playing the game in its purest, most intended form. But if I did that, I would have thrown myself into the ocean. And even using all the resources I could find, it still was not a fun experience. Here's a clip of me trying to read a guide after my 5th time of being completely lost in a maze dungeon. If you've unlocked the macro sea, go there and head south, then go up and right to head to the south path leading to another screen, then go left after another screen, then go to the big bridge looking thing on the left. If you don't have the key, head south. Oh my god.
I didn't understand any of that.
I'm freaking out, dude. Not only was I subjected to maze after maze after maze, wild encounter after wild encounter, but throughout all of that, the game still expected me to do a cement mixer amount of grinding. No way, Jose! Do you know how many layers deep this agony cake is already? You want more? Sir, I am but a husk. As you can see, there's not a molecule of serotonin, dopamine, or endorphins in this lifeless body. There is nothing left for you to take. You have created a human raisin. I'm really sorry, Digimon fans. I really have nothing against Digimon as a whole. In fact, I absolutely loved a lot of the Digimon designs. When it comes to monsters and creatures, I have to admit, I am an edgy bitch. So I absorbed those guys like they were a little puddle of muddy water in a scorching barren desert. Because metaphorically speaking, that's what they really were to me. Look at all these fellas! I'm surrounded by everything I could ever want in a monster. Pokemon could never. Maybe Aggron. I even got Big Worm back. He's my friend forever. Despite all my efforts, I chose the wrong Digimon game. I really did try. I'm sorry I didn't play Cyber Sleuth. I didn't know the other option was 1,000 punches to the skull. Regardless of the pain this game has inflicted on me, I can
against all odds, say I am coming out of this experience a bit of a Digimon enjoyer. Maybe I still don't know a single thing about any of it, but I have some favorite guys. I think they're cool. This evil game somehow didn't tarnish my view on Digimon as a franchise. I am damaged, but I forgive. One day I will play Cyber Sleuth and hopefully be able to commit to being a fully fledged Digimon fan. That's how I think it works. Until then, Digimoners, I'm worried about you. Please seek therapy.
Hello, thank you for watching another video. If you're still here, I would like to announce
I've played a lot of Pokemon in my days, and by that, I mean I've played the same Pokemon game with various different skins. But I'm here today to showcase one of, if not the most unique ideas for a Pokemon game Nintendo has published for our tiny little hearts. And that game is called Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. XD. A bit unfortunate, but it came out in 2005, so they get a pass. Why am I talking about it? I think it's an underground game not enough people know about. It does something different, kind of shakes up the formula. It's constantly overshadowed by its predecessor, Pokemon Coliseum. And yeah, okay, I played it as a kid. I'm very biased. Is that what you wanted? If you've not heard of it or played it, you're in for a treat today. The game opens up to a cargo boat, the SS Libra, out at sea, where we find the captain and guy who steers standing at the helm. All is calm and serene when suddenly they get swatted. And it's not no ordinary SWAT today, folks. No, sir. This is a Lugia SWAT. They run out to see what's going on, and the captain looks up and makes this face as if he wants to kiss Lugia passionately on the lips. But Lugia's not here for kisses. He's here for the opposite of kisses, which is crime. He hyper beams the cargo ship and then steals it. You heard me right, just blasts the thing point blank and takes it away. Lugia's ship now. The presumably only 2 people on the entire boat fall into the water and are left to just drown in the ocean, I guess. Well, that was a bit raw. What are we, a minute in and 2 people are dead? Gen 10 could never. Hard cut to me because that's more important. You play as this boy kid named Michael, but actually his name is Jaden now because that's me. The game throws you into the middle of this intense looking fight between a Salamence and Metagross, both level 50. I don't know where I am, what the stakes are, who I am, but this battle seems really important and tough, so I'm gonna give it my all and immediately OHKO it. I did it! Screen goes black. I open my eyes, everything's blurry. Wake up, Jaden, you've been in a coma for 15 years. Turns out I live in a friendly laboratory run by this Professor Crane and his lab guys. I get up and the guy running the battle simulation tells me how good of a battler I've become. Aw, thanks, man. Then he immediately negs me by telling me it's about time I go out and get myself more Pokemon besides my one lame Eevee. Backhanded compliment at a child, but I'll take it, I think. I go into Crane's office where him and my mom are talking, and he says he heard from the battle coach that my battling skills have improved dramatically, and how proud he is of me. To which my own mom tells him to stop giving me compliments and praise because I'm gonna end up spoiled rotten. I don't know what kind of a response that is to a child receiving praise. Either I'm already a cocky little bastard, or I'm being currently emotionally neglected by everyone in this building. Whatever it is, I don't think it's healthy for my mental development. To make this mother look even worse, we realize her only other child, Jovi, is missing and no one is looking for her. The world is only filled with overpowered wild rabbit animals and crazy people. No, I'm sure it's fine you haven't started looking for her. Keep doing what you're doing. I get a lead saying she really likes hanging out with family friend mad scientist Dr. Kaminko, so I head over to his house and I'm about to knock on his creepy door when this tiny little blind man, Chobin, the doctor's assistant, walks up and is like, "Burglar!" and challenges me to a battle, to which I win because he only has a level 5 Sunkern. Jovi comes out and is like, "Oh, hi, big brother, it's Jovi. Did you get lost, big brother? Silly big brother, Jovi will guide you back home." Alright, I see why no one was looking for her now. We return home to the lab and they present me with a snag machine. A machine that allows the user to catch shadow Pokemon, which are Pokemon that have been so abused that they turn evil. Now, they're saying they haven't seen or heard of any shadow Pokemon that exist anymore because they've all been purified years ago. But who knows when they could start popping up again? Better be safe than sorry. Bam! Some guys from a secret organization called Cypher bust into the lab, beat everyone up, steal Professor Crane, show off their shadow Pokemon, and run off to their secret base to never be seen again.
Well, I'll be. The lab is in shambles, not knowing what to do, but then decides they're gonna complete their purification chamber in his honor because shadow Pokemon are back and they want to do something about it. They send me off to this seaside town, Gaddionport, to retrieve a machine part they need, and Joby pesters our mom to come with because Joby doesn't think I can handle going out on my own, and Joby needs to hold my hand and guide her big brother the whole way. Okay, not only does this little snot talk in the third person for no reason, maybe our mom didn't care enough to get us any education. Perhaps she was worried the teacher would give us a compliment, heaven forbid. But she's also the most annoying character I've ever witnessed in any media, and I've watched an episode of My Hero Academia with a grape kid in it. We go to Gaddionport, and not 2 seconds pass until Joby pisses off this random guy, Zoop, who happens to be the buffest man in the world. He's about to punch her, and I'm about to do nothing about it, when this old man and his color-coded henchmen step in and obliterate his Shadow Zangoose. Old man, I was about to be free of everything that is bad in my life, and you took that away from me. We get the part, head back, and Mom tells me about this spot in Agate Village called the Relic Stone where you can naturally purify Pokemon. I don't know why you're making your own purifying chamber then when there's a rock that already does that. I go to Agate and this very enthusiastic man with a Pikachu shows me the stone and I'm like, cool. To which he's like, by the way, my friend Vander might know where Cypher took Crane. Oh. Okay. I go talk to Vander and he points to this random spot in the desert on my map and he's like, oh, they're right here, I saw them. What were you doing out there? That's literally just sand. Wow, would you look at that, a headquarters. I start infiltrating the base, battling all the grunts that fall from the ceiling, snagging any shadow Pokemon I find, until I reach Pink Hatsune Miku, who's trying to get information out of Crane about purifying shadow Pokemon. I battle her and win, which means I get to unkidnap him, and while heading out, I find this data ROM on the ground. This seems very important and like it has a lot of secret information about Cypher on it. Convenient. Crane returns to the lab and everyone's happy, and then they send me to Pyrite Town to find Net, a guy that should be able to crack the ROM and access all the information on it. So I head there and he's like, yeah, we can crack this, smile. While he's hacking it, I go out and play around in a random cave and run into Mirror B. This guy doesn't do much in this game, honestly, but I just want to make sure you know he exists and listen to his music. I go check on Net again, and Cypher's busted, beat everyone up, and kidnapped another person. Have you guys min-maxed how to kidnap people or something? You're 2 for 2 at this point, and are scarily efficient at it. They tried a hostage situation the data ROM back, and even though I beat up this big man and take all his shadow Pokemon, Net still wusses out and gives the ROM back. He thought he was being 2 steps ahead because he saved all the information on his server already, but Cypher just logs on and deletes everything anyway. Net says the only thing he remembers from the ROM was that Cypher was behind the disappearance of the SS Libra, and they're about to attack this city nearby called Fennec, and someone needs to go warn them. I guess I'm just Mr. Scooter across the desert and save everyone today, aren't I? I head to Fennec to warn the mayor about the attack, and as soon as I arrive, this lady hits me with a confetti cannon, congratulates me on being the 1,000,000th visitor to the city, and shoos me away to celebrate at Real Gam Tower. I try to get around her because this is important, but she's determined to gatekeep me no matter what I do. So I just go there and realize she literally sent a child to illegally gamble his life away. Wow! No one in this region likes children, do they? After not being able to figure out how to play bingo, I head back, sneak into the mayor's house, distract his house sitter with music, and find out the mayor was trying to write a note to Justy, the city's gym leader, warning him about the Cypher attack. I don't know why the mayor was trying to ask this random gym guy to help, but he was kidnapped halfway through writing it, so I guess it doesn't matter. Cypher realizes I now know what's up, and everyone in town reveals themselves to be disgusted